Like I think, yeah, we've been there, through time, all the way
Uh,
through it. 15 point something billion years, we've been going through life and experiencing things through millions and billions of different planets, and it's gotten to us to this point, and we're going to continue moving on, eventually on to other greater, bigger things.
a new creator?
No, not a new creator, just we will just become new creations,
How is that?
We're just going to move from one energy to another.
So you believe that there's energies within us, some kind?
Yeah, I mean, we just move and grow and become, we transform from one energy to another energy.
Mm. Okay. So what's your current like philosophical stance that kind of like brought you to this perspective?
Well, we can't really remember before we were born.
No.
We have a sense that we existed before we were ever born, though. But we live 1/3 of our lives in dreamland. 1/3, 33% of our lives, we live in a whole different alternative reality where some of it we acknowledge that we exist in this life, and other times we don't even know that we even existed before.
Okay. All right. So
So,
a lot of things to tackle here. Um, well, the first thing that I am curious to know, right, is that like what do you use for evidence for things that you believe in?
well, you can't. Like, for example, in Dreamland, like, you can't use nothing to prove that you existed before when you're in your dream realm, right? You can't
Yeah.
take
How do you know
anything.
that the dream realm was real, man?
You can't take anything in your subconscious and like say I can definitively prove that I existed in another reality before I exist here.
Uh,
It exists. It definitely exists. It's just that you
yeah. The
can't.
thing I'm just asking is like, just how do you know that personally?
You just acknowledge its existence. You can't prove it. It's unprovable. It just like this life here, we can't prove that dreams exist by taking something from our dreams and saying like, "Hey, I actually dreamed this." We just acknowledge and accept the fact that, hey, look, I acknowledge the fact that this person, more likely than not, actually dreamed this. We can't actually say that they're telling the truth.
So you think that dreams are like an alternate reality?
They're just reality. They're not an alternate reality. They are in reality. They are our reality.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, would you say that things that you see in your dreams, things that you wouldn't see in real life, you'd say that they're real?
They've existed at one point in time or another. They are real. Even if they're not real, they are real. They existed at one point in time, either in story form or in our mind.
Yeah, but like, so you think that things that just exist in your mind are real?
When you're in that existence and not in the physical realm, then to you they probably are.
So you think that reality is completely subjective?
Exactly.
Okay, so all of reality is subjective. So in that case, then, right? If I say that Jesus is God, and I make that as a claim based off of, it would be based off of philosophical as well as empirical evidence combined, based off of the external reality. I mean, do you even believe in an external reality?
Sure, I think there can be more than one reality at once.
An external reality is basically just making a claim that, do you believe that you and I share a reality? Are we experiencing the same reality?
Maybe. I'm not saying it's definitive, but I'm saying, yeah, maybe.
Okay, and I guess, do you have any
Because
kind
I
of
don't know
like,
whether or not,
yeah,
for example, I don't know whether or not this is something that my mind itself is making up or not, and you don't either.
okay, so I guess, like, so do you believe that
Mhm.
everything that you believe in currently is the truth, like the absolute truth?
No, sure, my eyes play some tricks on me all the time. I'm not saying everything's absolute truth.
Mm-hmm. And so, what would you say if there ended up being like some form of, I guess, external evidence to someone resurrecting from the dead and making claims about the objective reality?
I would certainly question it. I would do
Would you question it objectively, or would you question it because your subjective experience says otherwise?
both. I would.
Well, I mean, how would
Yeah.
you be able to question it objectively if you believe in a subjective reality completely?
Can't you? You're trying to say that you can't do both at the same time?
No, because if you affirm a subjective reality, then technically speaking, you're not even affirming an external reality to people. Like you're already, like, by saying that there's a subjective reality, you're making the claim off rip that like reality is completely based just in your mind, and you can't verify anything external to yourself.
Why not investigate though? Why not?
Because if it's just all subjective, then you not affirming it is just your subjective opinion. And therefore it doesn't hold any weight towards the truth claim that you said you would investigate it objectively. In order for you to investigate something objectively, you would have to affirm an objective reality that does exist, some form of external system.
Okay. I mean, I guess I understand that.
Yeah, so like if I said that if there was somebody who made an objective claim and then they did something that is scientifically not standard, or they did something as what we would call a miracle, right? And they made an objective claim about reality. They're like, what
Right.
is said in the scriptures? Like, how would you approach criticism of it with a
So
subjective worldview?
when it comes to Jesus, biblically speaking, I do believe Jesus existed, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
believe it was what they said it was. Like
Okay,
this
and
whole,
yeah, so what is your, like, what evidence do you use to show that? I'm just curious.
I've never seen nobody rise from the dead.
Okay, so
However,
you rely on your
there's enough.
experience.
There's enough people though back then that had witnessed these things take place, but they took place in a way where they don't line up. And like, Christians like to use this argument like, well, four different people seen a car crash and they seen things happen in a different way. But the way that I read things in the New Testament scriptures, biblically they don't add up.
Why not?
They don't add up because like you've got people saying, well, there was an angel, there were two men, there was an earthquake, there was lightning. I mean, if I was a person back then, I
Yeah,
would remember
and
an earthquake and lightning.
none of the other people, like, so if
I'm
you
not going
actually,
to remember.
yeah,
I'm not going to remember a guy in a white cloth or two people in white robes, but I am going to objectively remember an earthquake and a lightning bolt. I'm going to
objectively.
remember. Yeah.
Okay, so do you
So
affirm an objective reality then before we continue?
sure.
All right. So in that case, if somebody were to claim that they saw something in the objective sense, right? And also, to touch on your previous point regarding the eyewitness testimony of the four, in terms of the Gospels themselves, there's not a single verse in the New Testament where anybody denies the previous. Right. So like if somebody says that there was two angels at the tomb, right? And then somebody said that there was two women and an angel, and then somebody said that there was two men, right? If they say that what they saw from their perspective regarding this, what is stopping them from all being right?
The author.
The author is stopping me from them from being right.
Sure. I mean, like if somebody gives me a story and I write it down wrong, then yeah, maybe.
Yeah, again, so like I'm just asking you, like, what is your evidence that it was written down wrong?
Oh, I think that there's more than enough evidence to show that things were written differently.
I mean, I agree that the synoptic gospels are written differently in terms of like their writing style, but their testimony doesn't contradict each other overall. So that's why I'm asking, like, what's the issue?
The issue is not enough evidence.
What would be enough evidence for you to historically accept something like that?
Well, Jesus came back and presented himself to his disciples. Why hasn't he done some since then?
Do you believe?
Been 2,000 years.
Yeah. So, like, in terms of
Been 2,000
historical,
years and nobody's seen Jesus since. I mean, come on.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you're going to sit there and say, well, Jesus rose again from the dead and appeared to his disciples a couple days after he rose from the dead. But 2,000 years later, he hasn't come again to manifest his, like, who he is, and to preach his gospel and to bring peace into the world and do all these miracles and these things that he said he was going to do. Then
I
I'd
mean,
say there's
he did all of those
objective.
things when he was on Earth at the time
Yeah,
to produce the
according to
gospel,
whom?
according to him.
Yeah, according to whom?
I mean, it's not. I mean, Jesus isn't the one making the claim here. It's the eyewitnesses that saw Jesus do those things that are making the claim, not Jesus himself.
Yeah, so I think that I have a right to question authenticity because
Yeah, absolutely. So
if people are
do you
saying,
hold
well,
that stance with all historical documents?
I would say so. Yeah, I mean,
Do you believe that
if you're going,
Aristotle and Plato existed?
yeah.
Okay. And why do you think that they existed?
Well, I don't know a lot about Aristotle, and I don't know a lot about Plato.
So in terms of
Uh,
Aristotle and Plato, there's no eyewitness testimony to them existing in terms of writings whatsoever. The only evidence that we have of Aristotle and Plato existing is their own writings. And the manuscripts that we have of Aristotle and Plato existing, with Aristotle specifically, the earliest manuscript that we have is from the 11th century AD. And Aristotle was around in 300 BC, right? And then Plato is, I think, about 800 years from his latest
yeah,
manuscript in the ninth century, right?
I do absolutely believe they existed, even though I have no evidence therefore of. But I know that Aristotle and Plato, I know that they didn't invent calculus. I know that that was Isaac Newton. I know that, I believe Einstein existed and came up with, the ideas. A lot of the ideas that we have today are based on his theories of relativity.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not those are accurate or not, I can't prove those. I'm not intelligent enough to do that, but I know, from the books that I've read, and I know objectively from what I've read that exists, and
Okay.
I can prove some of those things. I can prove that in a vacuum that a feather drops just as fast as a bowling ball.
Yeah, because they were making like
I
scientific
mean, they're
claims,
not going
right?
to drop at the same rate. Like, they're not going to drop the same rate if I dropped them right now in front of me because of air resistance. But I know that in a vacuum, I can prove those things. But
Okay.
I can't prove that you can resurrect somebody from the dead other than maybe CPR.
Okay. And so again, right? So if you're so are you basing what you think is true off of what you can experience?
Yeah, that's what I'm basing on what I believe is true based on science.
Okay. So you're so okay. So now I'm starting to figure it out here. So you're an empiricist in terms of philosophy, then.
You've got to be able to prove things, and if you want to argue
Yeah.
religion, that God created everything and this and that, and
So do you believe
I'm
in all
just
of the
gonna
things that you presented to me when you first came in here?
maybe not. It just depends on what I said. I mean, I'm sure some of the things I've said can be proven, and I'm sure that some can be unproven.
Well, I mean, the big one that I would be probably touching on here is that you made the claim that there's a dreamland reality, and it is reality. So I'm asking,
Yeah.
like, yeah. Can you show me? Do you show me anything empirical for that?
No, I can't. I can't prove it.
Would you say that you have faith in that
I know
understanding?
personally. I mean, I personally know that it exists, but I can't prove it.
Okay. All right. So I don't think you understand what I'm trying to get at. In terms of what you believe in, like, so you're saying that we should base the truth off of evidence and proof, but you believe something that has no backing.
Sure, I think there's things that exist that we can't prove.
Okay. And so in terms of like the resurrection, right? Even though we can't prove that it happened, if there's empirical data that exists to suggest that people witnessed it in the past, and there's external evidence outside of the Bible that exists of them talking about Jesus and what he taught and the fact that he was crucified, right? What would be, would this not be considered, and at least enough evidence to be considered something to look into?
I think the people that witness it should believe it, and the people that didn't should not.
Okay, so we're back to the subjective reality thing.
Reality is a matter of perspective.
Yeah,
It's a whole cat in the box kind of idea. Is the cat alive or is it dead?
yeah, I understand what Schrodinger's cat is. Uh, I, so are we talking about quantum physics now?
Why not? you know, why not go there? I mean, we should. I'm surprised you know this stuff, actually.
Well, I used to be somebody who is very serious about all forms of science whatsoever, and I don't deny science because I'm a Christian.
What? So you
But
you believe
in what?
you're a Christian?
Yeah, I'm Eastern Orthodox Christian, man.
Okay. How did that start?
Well, I used to be an atheist, and then eventually I had a personal experience with where I had heard the gospel for the first time, and it made me very emotional. And it wasn't even really talking about anything emotional. It was some like I think it was like the Lord's Prayer or the Sermon on the Mount, and it caused me to think, you know what, I'm going to at least look into Christianity now because that was a very beautiful reading, right? And I want to know maybe if this actually was said. That was the big thing for me. I want to know if the Sermon on the Mount was actually spoken. Because if it was
The Lord's
spoken, I want to
Prayer.
look. No, the Sermon on the Mount specifically, the
Okay.
entire sermon.
What was the Sermon on the Mount? I'm interested.
All right, I got you. I'll read some of it for you. I can't read the whole thing; it's very long, but I can send it to you in DMs if you like.
No, just summarize.
Okay. Well, the Sermon on the Mount was basically where Jesus was speaking to I think it was over 5,000 people in the claim here with the Gospels, and he was delivering basically the entire paradigm for Christianity, right? And he was basically describing what the kingdom of God is and how to find it, what to do in certain situations, morality. I mean, all of these different types of things all at once. So in Matthew 5, it talks about the Beatitudes, which is outlining the blessedness of those people who embody spiritual virtues like poverty in spirit, mourning, meekness, hunger for righteousness, mercy, purity, peacemaking, and endurance under persecution. These qualities align with God, with God's nature, right? And it wants you, and it's basically saying that these people are blessed by God due to this. Also in Matthew 5, it talks about the salt and the light, where he likens so Jesus in this time likens his followers to salt and light, emphasizing their role in influencing the world for good. Salt preserves and adds flavor, symbolizing the moral impact of Christians on society, and light signifies visibility and guidance, encouraging believers to live openly righteous lives as a witness to other people. And also it talks about the fulfillment of the law from the Old Testament. He clarifies that he did not come to abolish the law or the prophets, but to fulfill the law of the prophets. Things like Moses or Abraham, Moses, all of the covenants that have been established in the prior. And this affirmation situates his teaching as a continuation and completion of God's covenant with Israel, calling for a higher righteousness than that of legalistic observance. Because a lot of people in this time were observing the laws, thinking that the laws were the thing that were going to save you. And Jesus was trying to clarify that this is not how God works, right? He also talks about radical right or righteousness and inner purity. He expands on the 10 Commandments that were given to Moses by focusing on the intent behind actions such as anger, equated with murder, lust with adultery, his exhortation to turn the other cheek when somebody hits you over the other, or hits you over one cheek, to give them the other cheek. Don't fight back. Like forgive these people, love your enemies, setting a radical standard of selfless love and forgiveness, and then also encouraging piety in private, where he basically
Did you say
advised.
setting?
Hmm?
Did you say setting a radical stand
Selfless love
of
and
love to
forgiveness.
example?
Selfless love and
Okay.
forgiveness. And then piety as well. He advises people of the act of charity, prayer, and fasting. It should be done privately to avoid seeking any public praise from the people. This section includes like the Lord's Prayer, which is a specific prayer that we say today. Then this prayer is a specific model for emphasizing the holiness of God, saying, "Our Father who art," "Our Father who for." Wow, I'm completely screwed up right now. "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Right, and lead us not into
Can
temptation,
I
but
ask
deliver us
you?
from evil."
Can I ask you when you pray? Is do you pray differently than that, or
I
do you
mean,
pray according
there's a lot
to
of other
the?
prayers that Jesus talks about. Like, so that's not the only prayer that exists. I mean, like, we're actually encouraged to pray ceaselessly, and especially in Orthodoxy, we follow this very strictly. Well, I mean, especially the monastic people, the monks who actually live in caves. There's a lot of people that do that, where they basically follow the Jesus prayer, which is this is a very short prayer. It's just, "Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner," and basically trying to think of that as much as you can, and it increases your humility, right? It increases your piety and wanting to basically spread the message of God's mercy and grace to all people in this time. He also talks about the treasures of God, the treasures of heaven in Matthew 6. This is also part of the sermon as well, where it basically is encouraging the fleeting nature of earthly wealth, trying to avoid a strict materialism that people follow, compared to the eternal treasures that are given to people in heaven. And he warns against the perils of strict materialism, teaching that one's heart will follow their treasure, encouraging focus on heavenly rewards. So instead of so basically changing your heart to not think that whatever you have on this earth is going to whatever you have on this earth is going to go away one day. It's finite,
You
right?
talk about heaven as if like your treasures are given to you, not earned.
Well, I mean, they would
Whereas
be
on Earth, your treasures are earned; they're not given to you.
yeah, and so we would consider it being earned by trusting in Jesus and following him. That would be your earning. You don't just get given anything because you just get to go to heaven. That's not what the faith of Christianity is at all. In
So let's
Orthodoxy,
say,
in a lot of Protestant sects, you see that a lot, right? In terms of like the
let's say
non-denominationals and stuff.
let's say I'm like the lowest of the low as far as faith goes. Like I
Sure.
don't believe in Jesus. I don't believe in God. Let's say I'm the sinnerest of the sinner. Just but I'm not a bad dude. Let's say I don't believe in God. Let's say I don't believe in any of that. But let's say I love my mom and I love my dad, and let's say poor people. Let's say I go and I do good works, and when I have the means, I help them,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't kick a brother when they're down, and at the end of my life, when I meet my Lord and Savior, or what I believe don't even exist, what is my life going to look like after in the afterlife? Being that I did good,
Jesus
being
spoke
that I
about
did
this in the
good,
sermon.
yeah.
He spoke about this in the sermon specifically. Remember what I talked about legalistic observance and how he was preaching against the notion of thinking that just because you're a good person that therefore you're good, right? So like in terms of
Yeah,
the
maybe in terms of the law and things of that nature,
this is just referring to
maybe I never
almsgiving. I
heard.
mean, this is
Maybe,
referring to
maybe
anything like giving
yeah,
to the
maybe
poor and then like basically saying, "See, I'm a good guy."
no, but I wasn't in it to prove nothing. Let's say like when my brother was down on his luck, and he had been stripped and raped, and left out on the street, and the rich person left him out there to hang. And I took him and said, hey, I took him under my wing, and I gave him a cloth, and I gave him a food, and I gave him a room to live in. What is my life going to look like in comparison to those people that claim to be righteous? But
Well, we don't know specifically about what really happens to anybody. We don't make claims in Orthodoxy specifically, right? We do not make
so,
specific
I
claims
mean,
on like every single person. What we do say is that the assurance of God's grace is through Jesus Christ in that sense. And so people that may have a heart open to God and maybe they don't personally believe in him yet. In Orthodoxy, we don't believe in the type of hell that that Protestants believe in, where basically it's just, oh, sorry man, get thrown in,
do you
right?
think that it's okay to proclaim, to believe in someone who taught practices of love that don't exercise those practices
Mm-hmm.
versus people that don't have no faith in those things at all, and
Well,
maybe
so I mean,
you
we kind
do
of,
things better, than the people that are supposed to do them?
I mean, just because, like I said, just said, man, just because you do good things doesn't mean you're a good person. That's the whole aspect of the Sermon on the Mount with the fulfillment part.
But what did Jesus say? What
He
was
said
Jesus?
he said to trust in me and follow me. That's what he said.
He said that if you love me, you'll keep my commandments, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly,
yeah.
right?
His commandments aren't the 10 Commandments, like specifically. That's not what he meant. I mean, he expanded on
Yeah.
the Ten
What
Commandments.
were what was Jesus's new commandment?
I mean, he had a lot of different ones, man. That would be a whole nother talk. It would take hours. I mean, you'd have to read the Gospels to find all of that stuff in there. There's a lot of different things that he talks about that aren't just straight up into. It's not just the 10 Commandments. There's a
So
lot of things.
are you trying to say that Mr. Mustache Man, like if he believed in Jesus, like he'd go to heaven before somebody that was just out in the streets trying to help the homeless
Anyone and
and
everyone has the chance to receive salvation if they give their life through Christ. No sin is too great for God's love and mercy.
yeah, I'm not gonna say that's not the case. I'm just saying, like, to compare the two
In this
though
hypothetical
is
scenario, do you think that Tiny Mustache Man actually realized what he did was horrible and he wanted to change before he accepted it?
I don't know.
Well,
I'm not the judge.
I mean that would matter.
If he was really sorry and unalived himself and felt bad enough about it, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, in that kind of
If he
sense,
took
we
judgment
would
on
say that
himself,
anybody.
I'm not.
That's why God is infinitely merciful, right? He would see the fact that his heart is different than what it was. Or he would see that he's open to actually understanding everything that is within God. He wants to repent. He wants to understand. We don't know if that's anything that happened. I'm pretty sure it didn't. Historically, there's no writings of anything like that. But so I don't know. In that sense, we don't know what people personally feel before they die. Right.
But Christians sit there and say that they have a personal relationship with this Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't see no evidence thereof.
Of
And
a personal relationship, you don't see external evidence.
no, I don't, because like if you have a personal relationship with somebody, you have answers.
I mean,
You have
people.
answers. You can talk. You can talk about the person that you have a personal relationship with,
I mean, your true personal
and
relationship would be displayed externally via what you do and who you are, right? So, like, if somebody is truly following Jesus properly, like we would consider that person to be very close to Jesus. They're very close to God in that sense,
that's what I'm
because
saying.
They live a life of
You would know that
theosis.
they're proclaiming the
like
good
you would
news to
like
people.
they would be able to begin a sentence and you'd be able to end it. Like that's the kind of personal relationship I'm talking about. Like the people that say that they know who that are that are trying to tell you to believe these things, though a lot of times they don't know what's on the mind of Jesus.
Mm. Okay,
They,
so
they they go back, they fall back on like what the Bible says. Is they say, well, that's the word of God, but they can't describe the personality of God, and they don't display it
well, God's
in any area
personality is in the
of their
Bible. That's the whole
life.
point. His personality is all over the Bible of what he says and what he proclaims. I mean, you can
What
know
about,
all of Yahweh's intentions by reading it.
well, what if I took away half the Bible?
I mean, that's an irrelevant hypothetical, man. Like
Why?
the Bible is the aspect that teaches us about God. It's our epistemology.
Doesn't it matter? Well, I mean, if you're going to make that a part of your epistemology,
The people that were prior to the Bible had relationship
doesn't
with
it
God.
matter like what you understand as a person? Like just because you read it doesn't mean you're going to actually follow through with what you
Hmm.
read.
Hold on one second. There we go. Somebody keeps coming in with a bunch of alts because they're like super angry at me for some reason. He's like really angry for some. I don't. He's manifesting. I don't know what's going on. All right. Anyway, what'd you say? I'm sorry.
What I'm saying is like you don't have the whole picture. Like you might
Mm.
have red, blue, and green, but you might not have purple, brown, and black. Like you may have like got part of the colors by reading part of the Bible, but you don't have all of the colors and been able to put all of the colors together because you've only read a part of it like I have. I've only read little bits and pieces. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't read the whole thing.
Okay.
Like I'm not a scholar.
So
I came to know the Bible because I ran across one small verse that said, "Love is patient, love is kind, it doesn't boast, and it's not self-seeking." I was like, "This is good."
yeah.
So I started to read, started to understand a few things, and but I was never really able to get over that big gap. I was able to read like 5 books, one, two, three, four, five, and it took me a long time. I was not a good reader, but I became a very good reader after the first 5 books of the Bible. I could read very well, and then after reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, I was good. And I read the book of Acts, but I never went beyond that in the New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
So I've read a lot, but
So there's a
um,
lot of verses that talk about very specific things. So do you know the books of philosophy in the Bible? Like, do you know which ones those are?
no, I've never heard of it.
So yeah. So
Sounds
in
like
the
a college.
what's up? What'd you
It
say?
sounds like one of those. What do they call it? The I can't think of it. The Catholic Bible. Uh,
Well, I mean that's a whole nother thing that I could talk to you about in a little bit. But
yeah, it sounds like.
no. So like the books of philosophy in the Bible, they're in every Bible except for one of them, and that the original canon contains that book. But in terms of these books of philosophy, it's the book of Job, the book of Ecclesiastes, the book of Proverbs, and the book of Wisdom of Solomon. And then I guess the Song of Solomon in a way as well. But all of these books are philosophical books that actually talk about things like what God does. Like, for example, the book of Job talks very specifically about God's intentions and what he wants for the world. And it also talks about like a small piece of why God did everything and what he did. Right. So I'd recommend that you read the book of Job. It's really, really good. It's a story about a man named Job who was a righteous man. And Satan was given authorization by God to go and take everything away from him because Satan was making the accusation that he's only a pious man. He's only a man of he's only a man of God because you give him everything he wants. And so God said, "Okay, go ahead, take everything away from him." And Satan took everything away from him. He lost his family, he lost his livestock, he lost his livelihood, and he maintained
Yep.
his faith for God. And then God gave everything back to him twofold, right? To
Sure,
basically show a lesson. It's a philosophical book, right? About
sure
like,
sounds like Job had a job.
hmm? Yeah, that's funny actually. I get what you mean there. Yeah,
Sorry, just
no, you're good. That was
no
funny.
pun
You're good.
intended.
I'm not even gonna lie to you. It took me about 5 seconds to get what you said, and it shouldn't have. But I get it now. Sorry, I'm
Well, I mean, if you believe in God, I mean, if God created personality, and I think that why not? I mean, doesn't God have sense of humor?
Well, so there's nothing specifically in the Bible that talks about a specific like sense of humor, but we assume the fact that so since because God is the totality of all virtue, right? So like love, for example, we can love people, but God is the totality of love. He is love, if that makes sense. So in terms of like humor, right, there's a couple verses I think in Proverbs and in the Psalms that talk about how laughing and humor are like virtues of life that make men happy, right? And so because of the fact that it's described as a virtue, we would actually make the philosophical stance that God would be the totality of like of happiness in general. So I don't think anything that we would say would be funny to him if he's the totality of humor, you know?
I've got a joke. I've got a joke to be funny to God, I think.
I don't know, man.
Right?
I say he's the totality of all humor. I don't think you can say anything he hasn't heard. You know what I mean?
I think I got a
Anything he
joke to
hasn't
God.
created.
Yeah, every joke technically belongs to him that's like virtuous, you know what I'm saying?
All right. I got one for you. All right. A preacher he's got his rifle and he's going out, and he's taking his Sunday off and he's going out and he's going hunting. He's got his license, he's going out and going to get himself a buck,
All right.
and he's like, all right, I'm gonna go get me a buck, and
Okay.
he gets on down and he gets his buck in his sights and he's like, all right, man, I got this buck. I'm sinning on Sunday. I don't gotta be in church and preach to my congregation. I'm just gonna get this buck.
All right.
Well, the bear comes running up. This bear comes running up on him. He gets scared, and he loses his rifle. He's like, "Oh shit! I'm gonna run away." He gets down and he starts, he's underneath the rock, and he starts praying. He says, "Oh Lord, please let this be a Christian bear." And the bear runs up on this preacher, and the bear starts praying. The bear says, "Dear Lord, please bless this meal that I'm about to receive."
I, okay, I thought it was pretty funny. I have no idea if God would, but that's
I
definitely
don't think God
something.
would approve. I don't think God would approve in that one, but
No, I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I don't think it's too bad.
Yeah. All right.
I
Well,
mean, look on the bright side. God gave us funny cat videos.
Well, maybe that's why God created Loki, the god of humor or something, God created a little lesser god, a little god to deal with those problems.
all right.
If you go smite that man, that little Lawrence guy down there, you find him and his guitar and you'll go curse his strings and make sure they break every time he plays a G string.
Alrighty. On that note, man, I'm gonna go ahead and start moving on to some other people. I appreciate our talk, though.
Oh, you don't
Those
like
items.
me?
No, I didn't say that. I just want to go ahead and give some more people the room, bro.
Oh yeah, no problem. I'll step on
All
the
good.
side.
Nothing against you. I don't have no issues with that. You're not upsetting me, bro. Trust me. I have people that come in here and say crazy things to me.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'll step on down.
All right, cool thing, man. Definitely be praying for you, Talon. I'm sorry to hear that, man. That's terrible. What's up, Tiger?
Hello, how you doing?
Good, man. What's up?
Not a whole lot. I've just been in the room for maybe 10, 15 minutes, so I'm not quite sure what's going on, but what's the red flag on atheism and
Well,
Islam?
so the big, I mean, are you both of those things?
Well, it'd be impossible to be both of those, but no, I'm not.
Yeah. So like, what do you currently hold, man?
I'm a Roman Catholic,
Okay.
so on the B, what's the BHI? The high?
No, that's the Black Hebrew
Black
Israelites.
Hebrew Israelites. Those little goobers.
They're people, they're Aryans, and they also believe that like African Americans are like the true chosen people of God, and everyone else pretty much isn't.
So sadly, my friend is part of that group.
Yeah, I've heard that group before. They're they're a very hateful and dangerous group.
Yeah.
I am so surprised that in America, they don't shut them down the same that they would the KKK.
Yeah.
So can I ask what your faith is?
I'm Eastern Orthodox.
Oh, you're Eastern Orthodox. Okay. All right. I didn't know. So you're pretty much. Well, what are your thoughts on the transcendental laws of the universe?
Are you talking about just like the transcendental argument in general?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't use it.
It's not an argument. I think it's science.
I mean, like, I don't usually use like the standard transcendental argument anymore. I mean, I mostly do like a moral transcendental argument, and then refer to the atheistic belief regarding moral relativism, and then doing a reductio ad absurdum on the ridiculousness of it. And then if they eventually affirm an objective morality off of that reductio, then I would then enter the realm of attempting to basically get them to figure out a way to ground that morality. And I believe that you can ground that in the Christian God.
So you're referring to the absolute or the objective morality opposed to their subjective morality?
Yes.
And so I guess you're taking the stance, because if they understand it or not, atheism, I haven't seen an example of. I'm sure there's someone out there that's an atheist that doesn't. But it seems that atheism is definitely on the road to nihilism. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, atheism leads to some of the most destructive ideologies on the planet, such as nominalism, nihilism, absurdism, existentialism. I mean, all of those stances don't root from Christians. So,
well, doesn't sound like we're going to debate one bit. So I'll drop down.
You're good, man. Appreciate the question. What's up, schoolboy?
Bing cheering.
Bing cheering. Straight up. Did you start reading the Palomite synods I sent you?
Yeah, I did. I didn't get through a whole bunch of them. I've been kind of busy here. I went and visited my godmother today. It was her birthday.
Okay.
Dude, this woman is something else. She's 90 years old.
Yeah.
And still drives, still takes care of herself. She's an iconographer.
Strong woman.
What's up,
dude? Her
What's up,
grandfather, grandfather was the last Duma of the parliament in Russia.
What?
Yeah, there's a book about her mom's life. It's called My Russian Life by Sophie Kalumzin. She was a teacher at St. Vlad's.
Okay. Wow. That's crazy. My fairy tale is real, yours isn't. Amazing. I love low tier Reddit arguments. It's always fun to see those in the chat.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, man?
So, I'm a Protestant Christian. I'm kind of I go to a Calvinist church right now, so Reformed theology.
Okay.
So I kind of have a question. So, like, within the Reformed theology, we see Scripture as progressive, and we see the covenants progressive as well.
Yeah,
throughout
dispensation.
Scripture. And so kind of like, I mean, the reason why I have not really been like kind of like confirmed like Calvinist in a way is that I see like parallels between like the New Testament and the Old Testament as well.
Okay.
So I'm not like one of those like hardcore Calvinist. Like I would hold to some of the like the dogmatics of like, you know, like the Mariology as well.
Do you
I would hold
do you
to
hold a standard 5-point tulip?
I'm not too sure what that is.
You haven't studied like the 5 points of Calvinism yet?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Tulip,
yeah, I
tulip
have.
is the
I have
tulip is the acronym that
the 5 points.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Total
I
depravity.
mean, for
You know what I mean?
irresistible grace,
grace, limited
perseverance
atonement.
of the saints. Yep.
Yeah, so like do you hold all
yeah,
5 points?
Unconditional election.
Yeah,
Perseverance of the saints, all that.
Yeah, I mean, like the of course, like I'm not a Calvinist in a way because I don't really agree with limited atonement.
Okay.
Because I guess in the Protestant view is that there's Calvinism and then there's something called Arminianism. So Arminianism would be held by like a lot of the Pentecostals, the Evangelicals.
Arminianism.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that would just be the
Methodists.
standard view of free-willed Christians.
Yeah, yeah. So like kind of like the total opposite of Calvinism.
In a way.
And so yeah.
Yeah,
But
Orthodox don't really
obviously,
hold to a strict Arminianism, but like I see what you're getting at.
yeah, yeah. I just wanted to let you know that's kind of like the main theological points when it comes to I wouldn't say like low church Protestants, but most of them would fall under either or.
Well, I mean, like most Protestants do definitely follow a very strict Arminianism. I mean, Orthodoxy doesn't really follow Arminianism because we believe that salvation is a complete lifelong faith that you have to continue on with your entire life in order to maintain, salvation. So, like, our Arminianism specifically is very OSAS. It's very once saved, always saved, right?
Yeah,
And so,
it's
like,
something I know.
Orthodoxy doesn't hold a stance of strict Arminianism in that stance because we don't believe that, like, if you just declare Jesus as Lord, then you're good to go, right? Because James is very clear on that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, of course. I mean, even on the Calvinist aspect, they would believe once saved, always saved if you were an elect. Um, but yeah, I mean that's kind of why I'm not like either or, and still exploring different groups of Christianity.
Have you
But
now have you explored apostolic the Christianity at all?
yes, I've explored Eastern Orthodoxy. I've been through a few Vespers.
what makes
I've read a couple
you,
of books from
yeah,
some of the saints as well.
what makes you not be Orthodox personally?
I think one of them is how they view like I guess like that I guess like because obviously like the Protestants come from like the look of like Catholicism in a way where like we're all dead in our sins 100%, and that we're just like pretty filthy and evil. So and I think like I remember you kind of going over a story of like how these kids were put away from society and for a bit, and when they were brought back into, they didn't try to like kill the other kids.
Yeah, let's not say the K word, please.
Oh, sorry.
You're fine. Unalive.
So I'll just say K.
That's fine.
But yeah. So yeah, it's like that view, I guess. And then I guess like
I'm sorry. I was reading chat. This dude said, "Could you name a single priest that knows how to do a fireball?" Okay, I know that was a shot, but that was funny. 100%, that was funny. All right, conservative. I give you. I I'm not even going to reply because that was funny. 100%. Anyway, sorry. Keep going.
Oh, Bryce, I got something to tell you after
What?
along the lines of like funny arguments.
Okay.
But yeah, go ahead, Jay. Sorry, dude.
oh no worries. But yeah, I mean, kind of that position, and then I mean, I kind of understand the concept of theosis. I think that's what it's called. I kind of understand I guess the idea of it, but I just don't know like how different that is from like I guess the Mormonism view of like becoming a god.
Very, very strong differences. So in Mormonism, they believe that you can become God by nature. What do you say to your fellow evangelicals who did bad things to kids? I don't follow evangelical Christianity, and I mean, I detest all people who do things like that. I mean, that's not hard to answer. Sorry.
And so like the Eastern would believe that that you
We are
guys
gods
would
that we become
share
little
the
g gods
nature.
by no, not that way. So like we would be considered people who receive the divine nature by grace, not by actually like becoming the divine nature, right? So like Mormons believe
I
that
mean,
you
Peter,
literally become infused into the divine nature, like legitimately, as in like you become G, a capital G God, and that you're able to basically become the Father, and you can have your own people. Like you can
Yeah,
make
yeah.
your own, just like humans. Like so,
and Jay
theosis is
doesn't.
way different.
Yeah, doesn't Peter tell us that we become partakers of the divine nature?
I, I think I remember seeing that in scripture somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, but and then the other thing is that like I had so I went to like a local monastery, and they would encourage me to get rebaptized,
Mm-hmm.
although I was baptized
It's
as
not
a
rebaptized.
oh
They just don't believe that like your baptism is the way that baptism was proclaimed in like the Didache and then the scriptures. So that's why they would want you to be baptized and into the church. Because you got to remember that we believe that that our church is the body of Christ. So if you enter the Orthodox Church, they want you to be baptized into the body of Christ. You understand?
gotcha. So you would kind of decline the Trinitarian baptism
We do. We
Well,
do the
no, that
done by
Trinitarian
water.
No, we do the Trinitarian baptism. The 3 dunks,
triple immersion.
triple
Yeah.
immersion.
Yeah, and I guess that's like another thing too, because like I talked to a Roman Catholic, and he would say that's like sacrilegious, and
Yeah.
that like the Protestants, like if you're baptized by water under the Trinity, so obviously this doesn't include like the heretical oneness Pentecostals, because they just do it in Jesus' name. But um, so yeah, I mean that's kind of another reason.
Well, the Roman Catholic position is absurd because you can literally be baptized by a Satanist.
How is
And
that absurd? How is the Roman Catholic position absurd?
I just said it. You could literally be baptized by a Satanist.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, I was baptized by a Christian. I mean, that's kind of, I think like within the Baptist group, that's kind of encouraged, or like kind of mandatory for you to be baptized by a Christian.
Like, how would you know you're being baptized by a Satanist in the first place?
Did they
Yeah,
say I'm a Satanist?
No,
In that
no, because
case, I mean, like, so
nah,
that's the
because
reason why in Orthodoxy they just hold to a strict form of like being baptized would be through the priesthood. That's the only reason why we would why that's a scary notion to think that like anybody can do it in any way.
yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, because right now I'm kind of going through like the Calvin's institutions, and then I'm going through like the Summa. Just because like I am probably gonna explore like Lutheranism and like Anglicanism, but I mean,
Protestantism
so
is
what was that?
Protestantism is heresy.
And I guess like another thing is like, I mean, kind of like I don't really believe in all of the solas.
I mean, sola scriptura is not true. It's not true at all.
I guess it just depends on what definition you hold of that, because there are some pretty like weak definitions of sola scriptura that like the magisterial Protestant churches wouldn't hold to. Because if you ask like an evangelical that
Magisterial
question,
Protestants.
like the top 3, so that would be like Calvinism, Lutheranism, and Anglicanism.
Oh, okay. So like liturgical Christian, like liturgical Protestants.
Yes,
Okay.
like
Sorry,
we
sorry. So
I would
when you say things like magisterial, that's like a little bit of a different claim when you say that. Like because when you say magisterial, you're proclaiming a apostolic succession embedded in it as well.
I mean, I believe that the Anglicans and the Lutherans at one point had apostolic succession. It just depends on what definition you go by that.
Okay.
Because I believe that some of the priests and the bishops that came over to be a Lutheran or an Anglican had succession in their roots.
Yeah. If there was documentation to show like actual documented apostolic succession, would that be more valid to you?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, do you not like worry
Be-
about like the possibility of your church having no apostolic succession?
Um, I mean, a little bit I do, because obviously, like, I want the truest form of worship, right? I want the truest form of theology.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Have you
like,
ever
if this
read
is including my salvation, then I want the truest form. But it's
have
so
you ever
hard
read
when,
anything
like,
by the early church fathers?
I've looked through the first 7 ecumenical councils. I'm familiar with, like, the earliest church fathers, or the earliest disciples of the 12 disciples.
Okay.
But I haven't done, like, thorough research within all the early church fathers. That's something that I want to include in my reading plan, but
Okay.
I haven't had the time yet.
I definitely recommend that you read at least the saints of the first 1,000 years, because in terms of like trying to determine like the church that existed in the first 1,000 years, you would have to see how they practiced, right? And they write
Yeah.
about all of the things that they practice with. And I can tell you right now that unless you go to St. Augustine and quote mine him, I don't think you're going to find any of them that followed any form of Calvinist doctrines, is what I'm trying to say. Like
Yeah.
there is none of that in
I
the
mean, you
first
can go
1,000
pick
years
up
especially.
you can go pick up Saint Irenaeus, like right in the 2nd century, like against heresies.
I've
And
read like the 7 church letters from Saint Ignatius.
mhm.
But that's about it when it comes to, like, the early
I have
saints.
a good
Yeah, but
website.
like
I have a good
as
website for
as
you. Go to a website called ancientbible.org.
All right. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna move that.
Yeah, ancientbible.org has the entire canon of scripture, including the Deuterocanon. And it also has a church fathers section you can click on, and you can read an astronomical amount of the church fathers writings, and you can search through the words. It's actually embedded by verses as well. Really good site
Gotcha.
that I found.
Yeah. I mean, I have an Orthodox study Bible.
Yeah.
And I guess another, like, I obviously I do worry about, like, apostolic succession in a way. I just don't know how super strict I can be onto it, where I'm like, like if
I mean,
you're if you're
let
not
me
I mean,
if
it'd
you're
be like
not
Occam's
this,
razor
then
at
you're
that
going
point.
to.
It'd be kind of like
yeah, I
Occam's
mean,
razor. Like you if you know, like if there is documentation to prove that the Orthodox Church does have that apostolic succession, and then there's a maybe to like the Calvinist Church, wouldn't you consider that the Orthodox Church would buy value of Occam's razor, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, like if the churches weren't split, I would convert immediately. The issues now regarding, like, is it Roman Catholicism or is it Eastern Orthodoxy?
And
so
that's a
Jay,
whole other argument.
and I could talk to you a little bit about that too, because I come from a Roman Catholic, like I'm cradle Catholic, and I'm now Orthodox.
All right, let's
Yeah.
go ahead and
So
see
It,
if TikToker has some questions. So he's been waiting for a little bit as well, and then we'll move back on. What's up, TikToker?
Hey man, so I've looked into the 3 main religions of the world.
right.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, a little bit. You kind of muffled, but I think I can make it out.
I guess my question is, try to convert me to go Christian.
Okay, so I mean, I have to know what your current stance is. I mean, do you believe in God?
Yes.
Okay, and you just don't know which God, and you're deciding between Judaism, Christianity, and Islam.
Yeah. So like, my question is, what is true monotheism to you? Because that's what I believe in the most, is monotheism.
Well, okay, so I don't want to answer your question with a question, but I do got to know how you philosophically think about stuff like that, okay? So, like, what determines God as one to you?
Just the one true divine God.
Okay, well, so I'm kind of getting philosophical here, man. So, if God was one essence in 3 persons, would that not be considered one God to you?
I guess it depends.
Because if you also didn't know this, monotheism is a word that was invented in the 16th century.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too like into like definitions, but like I guess the true definition of monotheism for me is just the one divine God, right?
So
that looks over everything.
if I told you that even the Old Testament proclaims one God in three persons, what would you say?
I just would like to see how they explain it. I mean, I'm open-minded. I've like looked into all three religions. I think to me, Islam makes the most sense due to the scriptures being preserved, and like it's just very simple to follow.
TikToker, are you familiar with the Islamic dilemma?
I am not. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so the Islamic dilemma is basically one of the most common refutations that Christians give Muslims. So you know how Muslims, in order for the Quran to be true, the Bible has to be false, right? If you didn't know that's the way that works. The Quran, if the Quran is true, the Bible is false.
The Quran follows the Bible off the original Testament, the original text, to my understanding.
Yeah,
Because it has.
So this is the TikToker. This is the dilemma though.
Yeah.
Because Islam piggybacks off of the quote unquote original word of God.
Yeah.
It points to that faith. Now, if you were a 7th century, 6th century, 7th century Christian, right?
Yeah.
And
okay.
At the time of Muhammad.
At the time of Muhammad.
Yeah.
And one of these Mohammedans came to you and said, "Oh, like search your scriptures to see if they are consistent with ours," right?
Right.
What if I told you that we have the same scriptures as they did then, and we don't see that? Like they are not consistent.
Yeah, I feel like that would go down a rabbit hole because you would just have to like go through each and every text.
Well, so I can actually I can give you one really easy that you can look into yourself if you'd like, because I know it sounds like you're trying to do research. So this will just be like a future thing if you want to look into it. So like he said, when Schoolboy said 7th century Christian, right? We then have to then look back to all of the Christian manuscripts that exist prior to the 7th century, right?
Right.
Because the claim. Go ahead. What'd you say?
I said, wouldn't that be very difficult to trace it back that far and know what's true or not?
No, we have a bunch. We have a lot. We have a lot of fully compiled Bibles that are way before the 7th century. 400 years to be exact, actually. Fully compiled Bibles that have exactly what's in our Bibles right now.
So my question is the Bibles we see today that you guys read the same as the ones from before Muhammad?
Absolutely. And the reason why that I say that is because they make the claim about the Injil, which supposedly was a single book, right? And so they say that it's a single gospel or whatever that was given to Jesus, right? And then he left. And in terms of this, right, then we look into history, because that's a historical claim, right?
Yeah.
There's not a single manuscript in existence that justifies their supposed Injil that exists. There's nothing of it. It doesn't exist anywhere. And so if the Quran is making the claim that the Injil is, or if Islam itself is making the claim that you have to use the Quran as the criteria for the previous scriptures, and they're saying that the Bible's corrupted, and then the Christian in the 7th century says, what do I use to determine that fact? And then they say, the Quran. Do you see how that can be problematic?
I mean, I can see your point on that. I just was kind of curious to what you guys think.
Yeah. So look up these.
A lot of research on my end.
Yeah. Look up these manuscripts. There's it's called the Codex Sinaiticus. It's a Codex and then a Sinaiticus, and that is a fully compiled Bible in 300 AD. We also have the Codex Vaticanus, the Codex Alexandrinus, and the Latin Vulgate Bible. These are complete, fully compiled Bibles that existed long before Muhammad. And we also have individual manuscripts of each gospel. We actually have over 5,700 Greek manuscripts of just the New Testament alone that existed all the way up to that time. And so where is this Injil at? Because Jesus very clearly claims to be God in the Bible, and they try to say that he doesn't.
Yeah, so I noticed like the main difference with the Quran and Christianity is Quran rejects the deity of Christ.
Yeah, and they also say that he wasn't crucified either.
Yeah, they say he was rose by
He was taken up to heaven. He was spared from death completely.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'll tell you this: Christianity and Islam make a lot more sense than Judaism, in my opinion.
I
Because
mean, I reject Judaism because the New Testament fulfills all the prophecies that were required.
Yeah, and for Judaism, they reject Jesus completely. Like they don't.
Yeah, they say he's false. He's a false prophet.
Yeah.
So,
So like for me, it's between Christianity and Islam, and I'm still leaning towards Islam. I'm gonna have to do more research. I just wanted to hear your viewpoint on it.
yeah. So again, so look into those codexes that exist. Just look up all of the manuscripts that we have for the first, let's say, 700 years of Christianity. And then also look into the church fathers that wrote about the Bible and the Christian faith for the first 700 years as well. Because even though that we don't have any active manuscripts from the first century anymore of the New Testament, we have first century people that wrote about the scriptures and what they were reading.
I believe there's from the early church fathers there's 36,000 quotations.
Yes,
From
yeah,
the
I think
manuscripts.
yeah, for the first 1,000
And
years of
there-
Christianity, there's like you can recompile the entire Bible within 500 years of Christianity's existence, like just by the church fathers quoting the Bible.
You can read the New Testament from the early church fathers.
Just from their own
And
writings.
TikToker, one point that I think is kind of pertinent to this in a kind of roundabout way. You say you're viewing your belief in God as a strict Unitarian
Yeah, oneness.
monotheism, right? Yeah.
It's oneness. Yeah.
So what if are you aware that even the ancient Jews didn't like unilaterally believe in a monolithic Unitarian God?
I did not know that.
And I can actually
so-
read a verse that
Some of them believed in two powers
yeah,
in
Yep.
heaven.
Yep.
well, it was even better actually. The Trinity is in Isaiah.
What, chapter 44 to 48 or
So Isaiah 48, verses 11 through 16. I'll read it if you like.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it says, for my own sake, I do this. How can I let myself be defamed? I will not yield my glory to another. If you can't tell, this is God talking, okay?
Okay.
Listen to me, Jacob. Israel, who I have called, I am he. I am the first and the last. We obviously know who says that in Revelation, right? My own hand laid the foundations of the earth, and my right hand spread out the heavens. When I summon them, they all stand together. Come together, all of you, and listen. Which of these idols has foretold these things? The Lord's chosen ally will carry out his purpose against Babylon. His arms will be against the Babylonians. I, even I, have spoken. Yes, I have called him. I will bring him, and he will succeed in his mission. Come near me and listen to this. From the first announcement, I have not spoken in secret. At this time, it happens, I am there. And now the sovereign Lord has sent me, endowed with his spirit. So do you see what's going on here?
Yeah, I see how like
God is making all of
interpreting
these claims, right? And then literally God is saying the sovereign Lord has sent me endowed with his spirit, the Holy Spirit, right?
right.
So, I mean, God is already like, this is literally the three persons, like in this chapter. And it's the whole chapter that talks about it.
And I think in TikToker, I think it'd be worth clarifying too. Bryce and I are both Orthodox Christians, and we believe in the monarchy of the Father. So I don't know if you're familiar. I don't know if you're familiar with what monarchical Trinitarianism is.
I mean, I don't, but when I was looking into like Orthodox, like, so what you guys believe in and like regular Christianity, yours makes a lot more sense to me because, like, say right now I go to a church, right? The way, I don't know, it's just every church I've been to, they do things a bit differently, and to me that kind of defeats, like, that's kind of very contradicting. But with Orthodox, a lot of you guys like do things the same. If that makes sense.
we have holy traditions. So like there are small t traditions that may vary slightly across jurisdictions, but overall, like there is a unit. The unity of the faith is there, and the holy traditions are the same.
Yeah.
Because the church fathers actually talk about in the first century, second, third, fourth century, they talk about these holy traditions and then use the Bible to justify them in their writings. Right.
Yeah.
So like nothing was made up in terms of like the way we practice. All of these things are in the scriptures.
Okay.
And even more so, I mean, the scriptures themselves are intrinsically intertwined with the church, because there was a church body with the authority to compile what we have for a canon of scripture.
I have one more question, if you guys don't mind, before I drop off.
Yeah, sure.
So let's say, let's just, for the sake of all talks, let's say your religion is correct and Islam is false.
Okay.
What is the point of Muhammad doing what he did in his time? What was the point of all that? Why would he teach? Because a lot of the teachings in Islam is also good, as well as Christianity. You know, give to the poor, be a good person. The list goes on. What would have been the point of all that?
So he could take multiple wives and be a mercenary and be a warlord like he was.
And a lot of it also in the Orthodox perspective, as some Orthodox church fathers have written about as well, is that a lot of people would make the claim that Muhammad was deceived by a demon.
Yeah, by
Right.
a fallen angel.
And the reason why that we make this claim is because he claims that the angel Gabriel came to him and gave him the revelation, right?
Right.
If you, hilariously enough, Islam is prophesied about. It's in Galatians 1:8. And it says, but even if we or an angel from heaven should preach a gospel other than the one that we preach to you, let them be under God's curse.
Yeah, I've read that. That is very familiar with me.
Yeah.
And I mean, I believe even in some of the hadiths, it talks about that the angel Jibril choked Muhammad out until he was reciting the Quran.
Yeah, apparently the Gabriel was suffocating him and causing him to basically have great fear, and he actually was suicidal temporarily, according to the tradition.
Yeah,
After he met Gabriel. And if you look at Gabriel, even in the Quran, Gabriel comes to Mary in the Quran, and he's peaceful. And he doesn't do anything.
Mary is regarded as the most righteous woman.
Yeah, she's actually the only woman that's named by name in the Quran.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Right. It says that she's the greatest of all women. Why is it that Muhammad, his parents were both pagans who were non-believers that Allah apparently has in hell, yet Jesus' mother was the sinless virgin?
And look at the history of the paganism in the Mecca as well.
Okay.
There's so much craziness
In
that goes
the
on.
pantheon.
Right, and then also, not to mention that Jesus, right, it says that he was spared of death, that he did not die, and that he was taken to heaven. Muhammad was not. Muhammad even said before he died he didn't know where he was going. Right.
I think with Muslims, though, they're most Muslims will tell you they don't know if they're going to hell or not.
Yeah, but the problem is that Jesus was taken directly to Allah, according to, I think it's Surah 7, in Surah 7 somewhere.
And the Muslims don't have historical evidence of Isa, so Jesus in the Quran.
Yeah, because Muhammad's making claims about Jesus 600 years after him, after Jesus was actually here. The New Testament are eyewitness testimony to people who knew him. Right? So, I mean, at that point, you then have to they have to claim it's based off of faith at that point, to believe Muhammad over the apostles.
And there's 10, probably more than 10, around 10 non-Christian sources as well. And some of them recite the dogmatics of the Christian faith that would refute Islam.
I also want to show you something as well. In Surah 61, verse 14, it speaks about the people who followed Jesus. Apparently the real Jesus, according to them.
Yeah.
It says, "Oh, you have believed, be supporters of Allah, as when Jesus, the son of Mary, said to the disciples, 'Who are my supporters for Allah?' The disciple says, 'We are supporters of Allah.' And a faction of the children of Israel believed and a faction disbelieved. So he supported those who believed against their enemy, and they became dominant." That did not happen. If the Islamic Jesus is real, then he's the worst prophet ever. You think about that.
Yeah,
He
I'm
accidentally created the largest religion in the world. That is false. But he supposedly was like a great sinless man who never did wrong.
And yet Muslims claim that they love Jesus and that Jesus was.
I mean, all biasness aside, like say you, if you go to a mosque and curse Jesus, they'll stand up for Jesus. Most Muslims will. I mean,
They'll stand up for him as a prophet.
Yeah, they'll defend him as a prophet, just like any other prophet. I think in the Western world, you got people cursing Jesus on the streets, and it just nothing's being done about it. Which
They
I
don't.
think is
Yeah, I was about to say like but here's the thing though, is that this supposed love for Jesus in Islam is not real. It's not actual love for Jesus, because Jesus said that those who love me will keep my commandments. In I think it's John, right?
Yeah.
And in terms of that, when you actually look at what Jesus commanded and what Jesus said and taught, he taught that he was God. He taught that he was God incarnate. He said it over and over and over in the New Testament. It's ridiculous. He appears in the Old Testament multiple times. He appears as the messenger of the Lord. In Genesis 18, when he speaks to Abraham, God appears as three men. Like,
So, if God is all powerful and God is everything, right? How can God have a birthday? That's one of my other questions. How can I know you guys say God limits himself, right, into a version of a man, which is Jesus? How would God have a date of birth? That doesn't make sense to me.
well, I mean, so Jesus as an incarnation was a birth, but the Son of God existed prior to his birth. The Son had always existed. The Son is in the Old Testament.
Just look at Colossians chapter 1, verse 16 through 18.
Let me pull that up. You said 16 through 18?
I believe so. I believe it's that section.
And even
it'd be
in
15
TikTok,
through
or
18,
even if
actually.
in TikTok, or even if you want to doubt like the New Testament and see the Trinity in the Old Testament, you can look at like Psalms 110. Like it literally says, like the Lord said to my Lord.
Yeah. Yeah, in Colossians 1, 15 through 18, it says, the Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. He is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning and the firstborn among the dead, so that in everything he might have the supremacy.
So for me, when I first came into this and I was talking about true monotheism, the reason why I was bringing that up was because most atheists, they'll tell you if like how can something come from nothing, right? And then you can be like God, but then they'll say how can God come from nothing? And I'll say I don't know that. That's beyond human comprehension. So for me, where it doesn't make sense with Christianity,
God didn't come from anything. That's the issue, is that they're committing a category error by saying that in the first place. Like,
yeah, for me, God, we can't, like, he's beyond our limit, our interpretation. We don't know. God is beyond that, right?
yeah.
So why would God be in a human form if he's above all of that?
Well, so he's above all of that, but the difference between Islam and Christianity is that in Christianity, God loves us. Right? God loves us in the aspect that he wants to commune with us. And the way that he communes with us is by becoming man. Do you understand? Like that creates a permanent, eternal communion and redemption of the human nature.
And Islam kind of tries to put like a law inside of the specific box, and it's kind of hard to understand how Allah would be a personal God to them.
Well, go in on that, because for me, Islam is very simple with its explanation of God. It's very simple how they explain it compared to like the other two religions.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good book called No God But God. I mean, it goes over their arguments. It goes over like philosophy as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then it brings up like the apologetics against that.
Yeah,
But
TikToker, you know that like even like Islam isn't like united in this simple belief of like their theology. Like there's many, many, many different akidas.
What do you mean? Like
The way that they believe
clarify.
in monotheism is very different in different schools of thought in Islam.
I know. There's Sunni and Shias. That's like the main.
Within, I
Athari,
was about to say,
yeah.
within Sunni, there's things like Athari, Ash'ari, Maturidi, Salafi.
Yeah,
All of
and
these
then
these are all different beliefs, and they actually fought over these beliefs. They unalived each other because of the differences.
yeah. Okay, cool. Well, hey man, good talks. I appreciate the time you guys give me. I'll keep doing my research, and y'all have a good night.
Sure thing, man. Appreciate it.
you too.
I'm gonna play this song again.
So Bryce, hold on before you do that. There was a non-Chalcedonian that was like popping off and trying to debate a bunch of people, and
Coptic.
I'm sure, yeah, Coptic, and
Oh yeah.
you know, Orthodox Kyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in his server, he was popping off. Dude, I had to go eat dinner, so I was like, I'll be back in a bit. And I was like, I'm eating shepherd's pie, the beef.
Wait,
the
Kyle has a server?
Yeah, but
His own? Or Jay Dyer's?
no, it's like a brother sister. It's like a brother server to Dyer Court.
Oh,
But it's actually really cool. Father John Whiteford does a bunch of Q&As on Wednesdays there. But I told this dude, I was like, I gotta go eat dinner. I'm having shepherd's pie. The beef and the potatoes united without mixing into one new nature of shepherd's pie.
Oh my gosh. That's funny. It's an 80s remix of Sugar We're Going Down, bro.
We can't hear it.
I could slow dance to this.
We can't.
Well,
We can't hear it.
it's because you're in the panel.
We're like just watching you dance without music.
I promise I'm listening to music, bro. I'm not just doing a jig. All right. What's up, Diddy Busters? Audio isn't working. All right. I did put you back down there in that sense, and then if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask them. But if your audio is not working, I can't have you in a spot to take up for a person, brother. No offense to you, but I just want to make sure, because if the panel's like too large, it will hinder people from wanting to come in. You know what I'm saying? No, you're good. You're good, Buster. It's not a big deal. I just thought I'd let you know that, because I know that that's how people work. They see a bunch of people on a panel and they don't want to freaking come in because they're worried they're going to get dogpiled.
No, we just gotta join a bunch of atheist streams and get screamed at by everybody at once.
It's the main reason why I don't even try, bro. There's a lot of people that have horrendous opinions and like they don't even know how to debate, but because there's so many of them in there, you can't even actually debate them. It's not possible.
No.
Metro, do not freaking start this crap with me, bro. Don't. Stop.
What, you got arachnophobia?
I got bug phobia.
Like even
I
worms?
hate bugs. What bugs? I don't care about birds. Ain't bugs.
No, I said worms.
Oh, nah, I could pick up a worm. They can't do
What
nothing.
about a slug?
A slug? I mean, they're just like. No, I'm not gonna say that on live.
Or what?
They're mentally challenged worms, bro. House centipedes. I can't stand those, dude. They're so fast and they bite.
Oh, like restarted? Like they're restarted?
Yeah, they're restarted worms. Slugs are also unarmored snails, so they're not based. Snails are based because they got armor.
Bro, I'm looking at this CCR Catholic Church thing, and they have like a whole website on speaking in tongues. Like they're like it's the gift of like interpretation. Well, I guess it's true, but
The gift of interpretation of scripture, huh?
No,
I bought
like
a Honda, but I should have bought a Kia.
like, your prayers or something.
Dang.
I have one last question before I drop down.
Yeah, what's up?
So would you say, of course, like Judaism rejects God because they reject Jesus, but would you say that they just worship nothing, or what would you say that they worship now?
Judaism?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good question, honestly. At least in the Orthodox tradition, they kind of just believe that like they're not worshiping the true God anymore. They've created their own God after Jesus left, and they denied him. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so, I talked to Jay Dyer about this, and I was like, "Do you think like the God of Hashem in Judaism is like the true God or something?" And he was like, "No, but they have more of a claim to it than Muslims because they are using the Father's name, like Hashem, like that's an acceptable name.
Yeah.
So they have like more of a claim to it. So, yeah."
Yeah, it was just an interesting thought I had. I mean, it's like, obviously they're not like atheists, but it's like, it's not like Islam where they could be like worshipping like a demon, like if Allah is like the highest.
I mean, realistically, they don't follow
the Mecca.
But they don't follow God's law either. They follow their rabbis. They follow
like
Talmud,
more the oral Torah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I figured they would probably just follow more of their laws than they follow God, in a sense of like their religion.
Ooh, Ahmed Qureshi's here. Bring him up.
Yay. He's just gonna talk over everybody. What's the point, man? It's not. It's just gonna turn chaotic.
Have a good night, everyone.
Yeah, you too, man.
God bless you, bro.
I always try to have like respectful, just calm, casual debates. You know what I'm saying? But it never is that way. I've tried to bring him up here over and over and over. It just doesn't turn into anything, man.
You want to set like a decorum, like, and get him to agree with it?
He won't. He'll say he will, and then he won't. It happens every time.
He said Cyril is Western theology.
Israel is Western theology.
No, Cyril.
Oh, Cyril.
Saint Cyril is Western theology. He said that to Jay Dyer.
That's interesting.
Then Jay Dyer was like, "That's restarted. I've never heard some restarted crap like that." And he was like,
that's interesting.
Stressing out, and then he was like, oh, "No, Saint Cyril Eastern."
Yeah, Augustine is an Aristotelian, bro. Now that brother's a low-key Neoplatonist, man. I love him though. Still a saint, but man, a lot of Neoplatonism rooted in that stuff.
Yep. Unfortunately, I mean, he had a lot of baggage coming to Christianity.
I don't even know anything about who he was, but prior to that, I didn't even know that there was stories of his baggage.
I mean, I've heard someone speculate that like the reason that he had like these like proto-Calvinist and like views of original sin was because of like his past. Like in his confessions, he writes about like just like before he came to Christ, like just a lot of fleshly pursuits.
Jay, we don't reject secular philosophy altogether. We just reject it as an epistemology. We don't believe that secular philosophy can be the actual pillar and ground of truth.
Yep.
That's the issue with the Western stance on that, is that they believe that They believe that you can start at philosophy and then arise to God that way. And the Bible is an explanation of the philosophy that they instantiate onto it. We believe that the Bible is the epistemology in of itself, and that philosophy can actually be formed off of the Bible, which is what we believe the church fathers did, rather than just holding to a strict stance, like a lot of people, like for example, Thomas Aquinas. Right, Thomas Aquinas' main thing is he held an extremely strict Aristotelian view of pretty much everything that he taught. I mean, the Summa Theologica, you could mistake it for Aristotle if you're not careful. Like it's so strict towards a specific secular philosophy that it basically just is secular philosophy based into the Bible is all it is. The Bible has to be before philosophy. Yes, absolutely.
Losky makes a good point in dogmatic theology, like in one of the first chapters, where the incarnation came at the perfect time for humanity, because if you think about it as like a mountain, right? The Jews had divine revelation, they had the prophets, and on the other side of that mountain, scaling it, were the Greek philosophers, and they didn't have that revelation of God, like who God truly is, but they were trying to make an ascent to the divine to the best of their ability. And then Christ was incarnate, and just like it says in St. Paul's letters, that the cross is a stumbling block to Jews and foolishness to the Greeks. So humanity was primed for the gospel.
Isn't that where divine simplicity comes in, like the Orthodox understanding of it?
What?
Like, doesn't divine simplicity like play into that, like at a perfect time, like type of thing? Like, can't you?
I mean, we would just say that like the people prior to like Christianity, just they didn't receive the entire revelation to be able to determine what true divine simplicity was at the time. I mean, like we would just say that like they didn't have the revelation to actually determine that truth, so a lot of it was presuppositional, based off of just whatever they thought of. So I mean, like they were close to it, but that doesn't mean that there's no such thing as Saint Aristotle and Saint Plato.
Right.
But didn't one of the saints say that they accepted Christ or something like that?
It's tradition, actually. Yeah.
I just sent that to Bryce earlier. That Theologumen.
We still don't consider them saints because of the fact that one, I mean, first off, that's holy tradition. It's a claim, but it's not like a verified thing, right? The Bible, right, has very clear stances on like a lot of different things, regarding like philosophy and how everything plays out. And so Aristotle and Plato, they did not posit the one true God in the aspect of what Yahweh was proclaimed as. They proclaimed a different notion of it, but it wasn't it wasn't a method that validly could consider those people saints, right? Because saints, if someone be a saint, they have to be extremely close to God, and they did not know Yahweh.
Are they just a saint in the aspect of tradition that they're
not a saint?
Accepted?
Well, they're not saints in that respect. Like it hasn't been one. They weren't part of Israel.
Well, there's non-recognized
They
saints
weren't
that
part
are
of
recognized saints, though, right? So
I mean, we don't. There's tons of saints that we're unaware of, and if God chooses in His mercy and in His grace to unite someone extra normatively to the body of Christ in the eschaton,
would you say like it's not canonized as like a recognized saint?
I mean, like we don't, because we about to say like we don't know if Plato and Aristotle are sitting in heaven with everybody. We have no idea. If they are,
right?
Awesome, dude.
And that's why I referred to it. Yeah, and that's why I referred to it as a theologumenon, because it's a non-dogmatic teaching.
Yeah.
And it was Saint Anastasios.
Yeah,
that
he made the proclamation that Aristotle and Plato were the first ones to accept Christ when he preached in hell.
How did he get that conclusion?
He said
he saw a vision of Plato.
Yeah, he said he had a vision of them.
Because he used to curse Plato all the time casually. And Plato came to him and was like, "Why do you keep cursing me?"
What spell his name?
What was that?
I said, how do you spell his name?
Anastasios.
Yeah.
Anastasios.
Yeah, it's cool to think about that. Isn't there like a a pseudo icon of that?
I sent it to you. I have
Yeah,
it.
you did.
It's
I can't find his
that's
name.
actually that icon's actually in Vado Piedi.
I can't find his name.
Athos.
Can you type it in the chat?
But if you notice in that icon, none of the philosophers have halo.
No, because they weren't enlightened to Christ. But they're people who, like accepted Christ when he prevailed over Hades, because they were so close to
if you go look
the truth that as soon as they saw Christ, they were like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I can get behind that."
It's a really interesting icon too, because if you pull it up and go look at it, you'll notice that like the philosophers are all holding like these orbs, like these greenish gray orbs, and those represent logos spermaticos, because it's Saint Paul and Saint Justin Martyr.
What's up,
With
Gio?
the pre-Christian philosophers and pathfinders of the way is the name of the icon.
So the one who said that was Saint
Yeah, Bryce. I've got it for you, by the way.
Persia,
What's
right?
up, Lewis?
I believe so.
Look at the image I brought up. Yeah, Aristotle's on there, but you'll notice he doesn't have the halo behind his head.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have like an interpolation of that as a smaller icon.
Which
But
one's
yeah,
Aristotle?
those frescoes
Aristotle is in the middle, but the right of the middle.
The one with like the
What's his
freaking
icon
with the headscarf.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's
What's his
holding
icon
that. That's at Vado Piedi, isn't it? On Mount Athos.
Yeah.
Yes, that is Zay. That is the pre-Christian philosophers who accepted Christ after the harrowing of Hades icon. Bro, Aristotle cooked for not being Christian. Yeah, I mean, like, he definitely was extremely close to finding the truth even without revelation. It was a very, very intelligent man. But the whole aspect of like why Orthodoxy doesn't hold philosophy as the epistemology, but rather the Bible as the epistemology, and then rising to philosophy from that, is based on the fact, obviously, that the one, right, that Plato talked about, we don't believe is Yahweh. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he was speaking about Yahweh in that aspect, and so it wouldn't. In the aspects that he was proclaiming about the forms and such, there's no way to show that any of that is actually the case. I mean, technically speaking, if somebody holds a strict Platonist view, they run into an extremely bad epistemic principle where they have to even verify that the forms exist in the first place. Right, and then if God, they can't verify God themselves.
This man just said many beards.
You can only get a beard like that by theosis.
God grant you many beards.
Straight up, man. I'm not
Wait,
sure
what's the exact name of that icon?
Pre-Christian philosophers and pathfinders of the way. You can get the one that I have from Uncut Mountain.
What's my interpretation of Psalm 144:1? I mean, I don't have my own interpretation, but I will do my best. Praise be to the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war, my fingers for battle.
So are you able to private venerate Aristotle?
No.
I mean, I wouldn't.
You shouldn't. It's not. I don't think Aristotle's going to be answering your prayers, my brother, if I'm being real.
You could pray.
Right.
You could pray for his soul.
Yeah, you could definitely pray for him. There's nothing wrong with that. But
there's I don't know if you've ever listened to Orthodox Talks with Hydromonk Cosmas, but he talks about how in the cases where you're praying for someone's soul, if they if you're praying for them out of the goodness of your heart, not knowing the state of their soul, but they are granted salvation, they turn those prayers back around for you. Like,
right.
do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I understand that.
About Psalm 144. One second, a lot of people are asking about that. Regarding the Psalm 144 verse 1, where it says, "Praise be to the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle." I mean, we don't disregard the fact that God has commanded people to go to war before for the nation of Israel. So,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I wouldn't have any issue with this based off of, honestly, just a literal interpretation. It makes sense. You know what I mean? I mean, if you read the entire psalm, it's literally saying, like, give me the ability to defeat your enemies.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, even in the Old Testament, it refers to God as a man of war.
Yeah, because, like, especially in the Old
Father
Testament, I mean,
Stephen
it was
DeYoung,
needed.
Yeah, Father Stephen DeYoung has a whole book on this.
Hey, schoolboy, I found the icon that you have. Who are the two with the halos over them? I can't.
That is Saint Paul and Saint Justin the philosopher, or Saint Justin martyr.
Because St. Paul was considered a philosopher himself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Acts 17 when he went to the.
B. Smith wants to know the book you just mentioned, schoolboy.
I believe it's just called like The Lord is a Man of War. I believe that's the title of it. It's something along those lines.
God is a man of war.
God is a man. Yeah, God is a man of war.
Great. He's done podcasts on this too. Wait, I'm pretty sure he answers like 1 Samuel 15:3 too. Oh. Wait, who's in the GOC?
I don't know.
GOC talks. Are we about to up the tism?
Wait, there's GOC.
What's up, brother? How are you?
What's up, man? What's going on?
Could we talk about the sacrifice of Abraham's begotten son, Isaac, and the sacrifice of Jesus?
Yeah, sure. What do you know about it?
So in the book of Genesis, the 22nd chapter, so, like, there's no specific verse, but, like, the whole chapter is a foreshadow. Like, when Isaac was being sacrificed.
I already know what you're about to say, man.
Yeah.
You're about to
So
say
you already
that
know.
this is a prophecy for Jesus not being sacrificed, right?
Yeah, and he was replaced with someone else. Same goes for Isaac. He was replaced with a lamb.
By a ram.
A ram, same thing.
Well, I mean, do you know, like, the actual spiritual significance of what the ram was? Like, have you read about what the ram was? So I'll go ahead and show you here how this is actually just a prophecy for Christ being crucified. In verse 12, it says, "Do not lay a hand on the boy. Do not do anything to him. Now that I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." Abraham looked up, and there was a thicket, and he saw a ram caught by its horns. So obviously the thicket was attached to the ram's horns, right?
Wait. Can you, like, repeat that? Because my brother came in the room.
Yeah, you're fine. No, you're fine. So in verse 12, I'll just start there again. "Do not lay a hand on the boy," he said. "Do not do anything to him. Now that I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." Abraham looked up, and he saw a thicket. You know what a thicket is? Right?
Wait, no, what's the thicket?
A thicket is a thorn bush.
A thorn bush. All right.
He looked in there and saw a thicket, and he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So it was caught by his horns, right? So the thicket was on the horns, or it was on the ram's head, right? So what did Jesus wear when he was on the cross?
I don't know what he wore.
He wore a crown of thorns. And so this is literally just a prophecy of Jesus being crucified.
So like, wait, let me get it straight, because, like, I didn't really do research upon it. So
you're fine.
Like, the foreshadow is, like, the horns, like,
it's the fact that the ram was caught in the thicket, right? It was, and the thicket is the thorn bush. The crown of thorns in the New Testament was put together by a thicket bush. And so Jesus being crucified with a crown of thorns on his head, and this ram was sacrificed, and it had the thicket in its horns, right? This is a prophecy towards Jesus being the replacement for all sacrifice whatsoever.
So it's not like a prophecy. So it's like, all right, I'm sorry. So it's not a foreshadow of him being replaced?
No, not at all. There's a couple.
But that's why I heard, like, when I did my research, that's like what I first saw. So, like, that's why.
Well, that's because of the fact that in terms of the verse, right? So nothing against you guys specifically regarding this, but in terms of the Bible, mostly everything that's ever proclaimed is, especially in the Old Testament, is in some way pointing towards what Christ is going to do in the Old Testament. So regarding this, when it talks about how Abraham said, or God says to Abraham, stop, don't sacrifice him. And then God provides a ram with a thicket on his head, right? Thorns on his head. And he says you will sacrifice him instead.
All right.
Right. This is literally prophesying the whole aspect of Jesus is going to be that sacrifice forever, because because Abraham wasn't required to attempt to sacrifice his son again after the ram, right? Right. So that's the same aspect here. Is that this is a prophecy towards Jesus being sacrificed? It's I've heard that argument before, but like the problem is that the ram itself is already a refutation towards that aspect.
Yeah, all right. That's all I wanted to ask. Thank you for the explanation. I'll do more research upon that. May God bless. Have a good day.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Sam Shamoon helps me again.
All right, guys. I gotta get going here. I'm gonna
all right, see you later,
possibly. All right. God bless, man.
What's up, man?
Hi. Hello.
What's on your mind?
Yeah, my mind is Jesus is God. Can we prove it logically?
Logically? Yeah. What is your criteria for something being considered logical?
Any logic that fits in mind.
What?
Anything that can be believed.
That it can be believed?
Yes.
Okay, so logic is something that you believe?
Yes.
Okay, so you have a personal aspect of what is enough logic for you? So like what is enough logic for you? That's what I'm asking.
Scientific logic. Let's say scientific logic. A scientific proof or historian proof.
Historical proof that Jesus is God?
Yes.
I mean, we have an astronomical amount of evidence for the eyewitness testimony of Jesus, and Jesus making the claims that he had made, and then the eyewitness testimony towards him resurrecting from the dead, proving what he said he was going to do, and the Old Testament that came hundreds of years prior to that, prophesying the fact that it was going to happen, I think is a decent amount of historical evidence. Not to mention that we also have a lot of third-party sources proclaiming the fact that Jesus existed and that Jesus was crucified and that people believed that he was God due to the eyewitness testimony of them saying he resurrected from the dead. And these are hostile sources, people like Tacitus and Josephus and Pliny the Younger and all that.
So that qualifies him as a God.
We would say that he's God because we believe the testimony that was given by the apostles, and the apostles proclaimed, obviously, that he had claimed to be God multiple times in the New Testament. He proclaimed it a very large amount of times, and if he said he was going to resurrect from the dead to prove his point, and he did, according to them. And so we would say that that is a valid historical evidence off of the 8 points of historical criteria, which is a way that historians actually use to determine whether something is a valid testimony or something is a valid historical stance or not.
No, you just said that you believed it. So it's just.
I mean, I believe it happened because I wasn't there. The apostles didn't believe it happened. The apostles saw it, so they didn't have to say they believed it happened. They believed Jesus is God because he said, I'm going to resurrect from the dead, right? And so then when he did, they saw what happened, and then they believed in Jesus in totality off of this finality. We obviously haven't seen Jesus raised from the dead physically, and so we would rely on the eyewitness testimony itself, which proves a very good historical stance in of itself. And so, yes, I mean, you have to believe in anything that you know about in terms of presuppositions, in terms of historical capabilities for anything. I mean, most people would never deny the fact that Aristotle and Plato existed in history ever. But in terms of their writings versus the New Testament is far more preserved than anything they've ever written, not to mention that especially with Aristotle, we have over 1,000-year difference between the earliest manuscript we have of him with no eyewitness testimony to him even existing. But nobody denies Aristotle's existence, right? So we would apply that same historical criteria that people apply to people like Aristotle and Plato to the Bible. All right, that's enough of that.
Wait, did he leave?
Yes. What's up, Redacted?
Oh, hi, hello.
Yeah.
Oh, hi. First of all, you guys are so smart. I've been listening for a few minutes now, and so basically, I'm going to be converting to Catholicism, right? But I grew up in like these churches where my mom would take us to, and they were like small home churches, and I just believed them, right? But they would baptize in the name of Jesus Christ only, and they would cite Acts 2:38, and there's a couple more instances in the book of Acts where people are baptized in the name of Jesus or in the name of the Lord Jesus, and so, and then basically what I'm trying to say is I realize that that's wrong, I guess, being baptized in that formula.
Yeah, you were part of the
So,
Oneness Pentecostal movement, right?
yeah, that's what so, but I realize now that that's in error, and basically that's why I prefaced it by saying that I'm converting to Catholicism.
Have you ever looked into the Eastern Orthodox Church?
Yeah, you guys look so cool. All the priests have like the badass like beards, and like you guys look tough for real. But
So what makes you
I think
choose Catholicism over Orthodoxy, personally?
yeah, so I'm not as eloquent as a speaker, right? But the little that I do know is that uh it would go back down to the chair of Peter,
Sure.
where yeah, so basically the argument goes, I think if I understand it correctly, it says that Christ gave the authority to Peter, and then Peter went out and with along with the other apostles, and he did his thing, right? And then I think the councils after that, they would always, I think, this
No.
is where I don't know. This is where I don't know.
Yeah, no, this didn't happen.
But
So and so like I
that didn't
understand what you're
happen?
yeah. So I'm gonna help you out real
Yeah.
quick. So what you're talking about is Matthew 18. In Matthew 18, where it talks about how Peter was given the keys, right? But if you didn't know this, later on in the same chapter, the keys of the kingdom were given to everybody, the binding and loosing power, right? And so
yeah,
in terms of this, I'm going to name a couple second, third, fourth, and fifth century Christians. These are saints in the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church, and I'm going to tell you what they think about Peter in terms of what in opposite to obviously what the Catholic Church would proclaim, right? So this is Saint Cyprian of Carthage in his epistle, chapter 26, verse 1. It says, "Our Lord, whose precepts and admonitions we ought to observe, describing the honor of a bishop and the order of his church, speaks in the gospel and says to Peter, I say unto thee, thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give unto thee the keys to the kingdom of heaven. And whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatsoever shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Thence, through the changes of times and successions, the ordering of bishops and the plan of the church flow onwards, so that the church is founded upon the bishops, and every act of the church is controlled by the same rulers. Since this, then, is founded on the divine law, I marvel that some, with daring temerity, have chosen to write to me as if they wrote in the name of the church, when the church is established in the bishop and the clergy, and to all who stand fast in the faith." Right, so this is him automatically proclaiming that the church is built upon everybody, and that at the time of Jesus he established it to Peter because there needed to be a head. Right, so in Orthodoxy we do believe in an honor primacy, where he started the church, right?
Yeah.
And so even though he started the church, if you didn't know this, before he even started the Roman church, he started the church of Antioch, which is the first church, as it says in the book of Acts, right?
Yeah.
And so the church, and he was the first bishop of Antioch. And you know how the main argument for papal supremacy is the fact that Peter was the bishop, right?
Yeah.
Well, he was the bishop in
Or that
Antioch.
Rome.
Go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Well, so in terms of Antioch, right? He started in Antioch, and he was a bishop in Antioch. So if the papal supremacy is based off of Peter, wouldn't you be able to say that the Church of Antioch then therefore has the same authority?
The same authority
as
with Rome?
Yeah, as the same authority as Rome. And so whoever his successor is would have that same binding and loosing capability with that logic, right?
In redacted, even if you want to go like from an internal standpoint, if you go to the Fourth Lateran Council, which is a Roman Catholic council, in the first confession, so Lateran 4, first point, first canon, it says that Christ gave the keys to the apostles and their successors. So if you hear Catholics saying like, "Oh, we only gave the keys to Peter," like, no, like your own church doesn't agree with that stance.
Okay. Maybe it's a different context. Maybe it's like they gave the keys to the apostles to continue apostolic succession.
Well, yes, but that's the thing though, is
there
that
would-
if the
yeah.
apostles have apostolic succession, valid
Mhm.
apostolic succession, they can deliver the Eucharist
Yeah.
through this, right?
Mhm.
And in the Council of Nicaea specifically, which was the first ecumenical
Mhm.
council, in Canon 6.
I have a question about that.
Yeah. I'll tell you this real quick. But in Canon 6 specifically, in Nicaea, it states that all of the jurisdictions belong to the bishops of that region. And so if papal supremacy was supposedly true at this time, that would not have made it into the canons. There's no way. It would have said that everyone has jurisdiction, but you know, Rome has the first say. Like none of that's mentioned in these canons at all.
Yeah.
Especially Canon 28 of Chalcedon further clarifies that jurisdiction as well. And every time that a Roman bishop, the Pope at that time, would speak upon the authority of putting something together, it was always approved by ecumenical approval. There was no such thing as a ex cathedra decree where Rome just spoke and everything was declared. Everything had to be approved by the entire church, not just Rome.
Okay, dang, that's a lot of food for thought, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have the question
And
about Nicaea you were
there's
talking
also
about?
Oh,
there's
yeah.
also
So, I'm sorry to cut you off.
no, it's okay. And just while we're on the
so-
topic, he brought up Chalcedon.
Yeah.
There's going to be a debate early December on YouTube between Ubi Petrus, who is Orthodoxy, formerly Roman Catholic, and Eric Ibarra. No, I'm sure.
Yeah. On Pints, right?
Yep.
Yeah, dude, I'm so hyped for that.
Yeah. Ubi is an absolute scholar. I mean, he is quite the historian.
I'm pretty sure that he's one of the people who actually translated a ton of that Palamite Synod stuff I sent you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he translated a lot of
Yeah,
that
because
stuff from
he's
Greek.
an expert in different language. He's an expert in languages too.
Yeah.
Damn, you guys are really about this life. That's cool. So basically, so about Nicaea, very quickly, I don't want to take up your time here, but I've tried to look up the like PDF files to see if they have I want to read it, you know, because not just like there's people that object to Christianity and they always say the Council of Nicaea with like all these myths that aren't real. And I always try to find like the actual link to like the actual document or whatever.
A good one you can use is ancientbible.org.
Oh.
So ancientbible.org, there's a church fathers section and it includes the entire Council of Nicaea canons, includes the entire synod. And you can read the entire thing. Let me make sure that I'm not. Yeah, Nicaea 1. Here we go.
Yeah.
And it has 22 chapters, and it legitimately goes through the entire thing, all of the canons that were declared. And I promise you that all of these weird people that try to say that like they invented Jesus or something at the council, like it's none of that is in here. It's very obvious, and at that point you just have to ask the other person, like, can you show me evidence that happened at Nicaea?
Like, be for real right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, thank you so much, dude. Have a good day, guys. God bless.
Sure thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to leave, though.
I could just disconnect you.
All right, thank you.
Good, fruitful live, kind of, today. Got a couple interesting people, but... Very sincere person. I appreciate her openness to. I'm very, very happy to hear that she got out of oneness Pentecostalism, because that stuff is restarted.
Is that where you come from, Bryce?
No, I came.
Was
from
it oneness?
No. I believed in the Trinity when I was a Pentecostal. Hilariously enough, actually, you want to know exactly what my church was? Because my church was a mega church. They're all over the internet. Look up "Come Out
Was
in
it-
Jesus'
was it-
Name" movie trailer.
Did they have a water slide?
They had a movie, bro. They released a movie.
Did they have a water slide though?
No, they were a tent, actually, a giant tent. Yeah. So the trailer for the movie shows exactly what was going on. It was pretty freaking ridiculous. I don't even want to show it because it's demonic as shit. But it's a lot, dude. But everything that you see though, I was doing.
I feel bad for you, man.
Dude, I was supposedly delivered multiple times. I freaking had like what do you call that crap? I was like speaking in tongues. I was like what is that crap? Super emotional. Like my wife thought she got laid out by the Holy Spirit because somebody just touched her head really quick. There was a lot going on, bro.
Psychological, what's it called?
Yeah, it was maniacal. It was oh man, hysteria. Yeah, it was definitely a form of hysteria.
Yeah, hysteria.
Bro, I got a stupid amount of papacy quotes for Matthew 18 interpretations. It's not even funny. I got stuff from Saint Cyprian, Saint Cyril, Saint Bede, Alcuin of York, Saint Germanius, Saint Isidore, Saint John of Damascus, Saint Alexander of Alexandria, Saint Augustine even, Life of Chanute, Saint Pope Leo the Great, Saint Gaudentius, Saint Gildas the Wise, Theodoret, Saint Hilary of Poitiers, Apharat the Sage, and Saint Theodore the Studite. They all have hella quotes basically proclaiming that the papacy is not supreme. It's pretty funny.
Pope Honorius.
Oh
It's
yeah.
that easy.
Yeah, I need that one. I don't know why I don't have that on here. Oh, are we all doing what we converted from? Okay. I was an atheist, agnostic, Buddhist, Pentecostal, and then Eastern Orthodox.
I don't want to say mine. Schoolboy, did I tell you what I was?
No, I don't think so.
I was Sufi for a time.
Whoa.
Sufi?
Yes.
That's freaking nuts, man. I'm What? Holy crap. No, dude, I was wearing mala beads every day. I was trying to align my chakras and shit. I'm not kidding. I was in.
Yeah, well, they got the whole dancing, the chanting, the whole spiel.
Freaking Eastern philosopher's an ex mystic Muslim, bro.
Yes.
The Hindu Muslims, right? That's what they are. Isn't that like they are? Because like they're Muslims, but they take like Hindu theology seriously.
I would say think of it like the Gnostics of Islam.
My best argument for theism, man, is the reductio of moral relativity, and then the epistemic justification question for anybody who affirms a objective morality and can't instantiate the reasoning behind it. I believe it's the most powerful for leading people specifically to Eastern Orthodoxy and also proving the extreme issue of their current stance. With people that also might not be smart enough to have a standard method of tag ran on them. Yo, what's with the anime character the Vatican just dropped? Yeah, at first it seemed like it was harmless until they figured out that the person who made that icon, or that icon, the person who made that freaking artwork is the Funko Pop, bro. Jay Dyer's going stupid over that right now.
I love it.
Vatican Funko Pop.
I was expecting them to be like defensive about it, but no, they've embraced
JWs are the only ones who are given the truth. You are more than welcome to come up here. I will even use your translation to prove you wrong. Yeah, the Lucy mascot. Did you know? Do you know who actually made that mascot, Mary?
Luce.
What are Luce?
Yeah.
A PRIDE supporter who makes SEX toys. Amazing. based mascot, dude.
No.
You guys want to see my mascot?
Based.
Too freaking easy.
That's an awesome mascot, dude.
My Luffy poster fell over, man. What the hell? Oh. Oh my god. Monkey D. Luffy! 3 billion berry bounty. He's gonna find the
I've
One
never
Piece.
actually seen that show.
Well, if you decide to get into it now, you won't finish it until you're 25.
Oh. Wow.
Zeke, man, like all the work that me and Bryce try to do, we will never ever accomplish as much evangelism as the Roman Catholic Church has done for the Orthodox faith.
It's never gonna happen. It just isn't, bro. It's just, the methodology that Orthodoxy uses to spread is not the way that the Roman Catholics spread. So, because
I'm saying that the Roman Catholics will be better Orthodox evangelists than you and I will ever be.
Oh yeah, true that, dude. Bro, I swear everything is the essence. I swear. What do you mean by that? St. Gregory Palamas goes freaking stupid on that in the Palamite synods.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. I love the Palamite synods. They're so fun to read.
I heard probably one of the craziest reductios, and I need to talk to my buddy who ran it, but it was a little bit different than like reducing Thomism down to Neoplatonism.
Mm-hmm.
But he reduced it down to solipsism.
What?
Yeah.
I forgot what that is. I haven't heard someone talk about that in forever. Self-centered or
Solipsism is
selfish?
Well, that's like but the philosophical school is that your mind is the only thing that you can actually verify.
Whoa.
Yeah. Scary, isolating. I mean, when I was younger, I know I've talked to you about like my journey to Orthodoxy, but like when I was into like philosophy and kind of like caught up in a bunch of new age stuff, I got like bitten by a solipsistic brainworm that I didn't want. By a solipsistic.
Whoa. How's it going, Ainsley?
Hello.
What's going
Careful with them worms, they bite hard.
They do.
Hold on, it's giving me bars. Let me on the old internet. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Alright. What do the little flags mean?
Red flags.
Yeah, what do they mean?
It means that they're false and that they lead to terrible doctrine.
Oh, okay. So I'm an atheist. What terrible doctrine do I have?
Well, I mean, I guess I just have to ask, like, what kind of philosophical stance that you hold.
Positive propositional attitude towards the non-existence of God.
Okay. That's the first way. That's the first way I've ever heard somebody say it like that. Right? That's interesting.
You asked.
Yeah. So, are you an empiricist?
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, in that case, like, do you also follow like a moral relativist standpoint?
No, I follow a fictionalist moral standpoint.
Please elaborate.
Oh no, I ran into a fictionalist earlier today. Do you believe that math is created?
We created math, yes.
You don't think math was a discovery?
I mean, discovery could be used as a word to describe math.
Are you also a
Let me answer
sophist or
this.
something? Like what? That didn't answer me.
Let me answer the first question. So, a fictionalist, I find that moral relativism is just as nonsensical as moral realism. I don't think that we have access to moral facts. So, I'm not an uncognitivist. I am a cognitivist. So I think moral propositions have truth value, but I think they are always false. So they
Are you
produce.
an epistemic nihilist?
No.
Okay.
But I'm a error theorist when it comes to morality.
Okay, so basically you just believe that we don't have the ability as humans to justify an objective standard for what is right and wrong.
Well, no, I go a step further. I don't believe that we have the ability to even have access to moral facts.
Yeah, I mean that's what I said. We don't have the ability to even justify morality itself, right?
Yeah.
What kind of facts do we have access to?
Non-moral states of affairs.
Okay, so like, I mean, I'm assuming you affirm like an external reality, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, in terms of, I'm gonna stick on the morality standpoint with that aspect. Okay.
Okay.
So like, so I guess, do you believe that people can make up their own forms of morality?
Every day.
Okay.
They do it every day.
How do you think that we currently instantiate which moral facts that we do think we have are valid?
So I think that for the most part we've followed some kind of methodological naturalism to arrive at a secular moral system.
Mm. Okay, well, historically that's not the case, but I see where you're coming from. But okay, so what?
I'm just talking about kind of like right now.
Okay,
how
so
we're
all
arriving
right.
at that.
Okay. So then in a way you kind of do, like, you don't follow moral relativism, but you also don't like deny the fact that people do it.
Yeah, I don't deny the fact that people do objective morals either, right? Or try to.
Yeah. So what would be your reasoning for basically justifying putting somebody who in jail who commits like child rape?
Yeah, sure. So that's the fictionalist aspect of it.
Okay.
So I accept that there seems to be something that we need that kind of there's a word that I'm looking for that I'm not going to be able to find, but there's something that happens when we have a society that it produces rules.
Okay.
And it seems that there are some rules that are pretty universal in their need for a functional society. And those rules seem to be violation of autonomy, honesty. Honesty would go with like stealing is bad for society.
Yeah. Okay. So you think everything would be based in society then?
Yeah, I think maximization of well-being.
Yeah. So like in that, I mean, so in that case, like, how do you ground the aspect of what would be considered well-being versus negative aspects to people, considering that there are people that believe that their form of well-being is to unalive others?
Well, there's not
Based
going to
off
be
of
any
society, right?
There's not going to be any grounding that satisfies somebody that doesn't hold my position, but the grounding is just going to be some kind of utilitarian regress.
Mm. So you kind of follow over a utilitarian perspective then?
I mean, that seems to be where I most fall on most things.
Okay. Do you believe that we should end world hunger?
Absolutely.
And if the methodology that was used to do that was to unalive every disabled person on the planet, do you think that it would fix world hunger?
Well, will it fix requires that I know.
Well, it will fix the overpopulation, therefore people would have more access to food. So I'm saying, like, a utilitarian perspective, we would actually benefit all of humanity that way. So I'm asking, like, would you affirm that as a valid case?
No, because that would violate my principal foundation.
Of well-being?
No, so the principal axiom that I have for my worldview is consent.
Is consent.
Yeah.
Okay. So in that case, regarding like consent being is that your peripatetic axiom? Like, is that like your absolute like grounding for pretty much anything you believe in?
Yeah, it's about as far down as I can go.
Okay. And so if somebody were to believe that their axiom is not consent, are they objectively incorrect?
If somebody believes their axiom is not consent.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody were to believe that their axiom would be to harm others, and they believe that that's the best virtue for them, like a very hardcore hedonist that believes that like the pleasure would be to make others feel bad in some way.
Sure.
And so, like, would you believe that that's an objectively wrong stance, or would you hold more of a, like a stance?
I'd say it's subjectively wrong.
They're subjectively wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, so then, with all of that said, if somebody's entire prerogative in life is to commit child rape, are they not? Are they absolutely wrong?
No, not absolutely.
All right, that's all I need for that one. I cannot believe that that was said out loud. All good.
I've heard that, there was a clip floating around of someone, I forget what the debate was, but yeah, some like college professor bit that bullet too.
That's crazy. I don't need to argue anymore if somebody bites that bullet. I
No.
legitimately don't. Like, it's not necessary, because if somebody straight up just admits to the fact that something like that is not absolutely wrong for everybody,
yeah, then
they're admitting that there are some cases where it's okay.
Yep.
I'm not debating with somebody who does some weird crap like that. That's that justifies my position just by holding a stance like that.
Yep.
I'd rather a moral relativist come in here. That was way too much just for them to eventually end up being a moral relativist.
Yeah. Have you ever debated an epistemic nihilist?
Yeah, I debated J. Mike.
Oh.
I have a formal debate with him on my page regarding the authenticity of the Bible, actually. On YouTube, it was like a 2-hour debate. What's up, sir?
Hey, I'm really just looking around Christian TikTok lives to answer a question from my friend.
Okay.
Right. So personally, right, I was told that cursing was wrong, and I was shown in the Bible verses that are told not to curse. Right. And then I've heard two sides of that. My parents tell me that the historical context of cursing is talking about saying stuff like, quote unquote, oh, curse your children that they may starve, or quote unquote, curse you that you may drown, or something like that. Right. Now, other people tell me that in the Bible it's talking about curse words like the F word, the S word, etc. Right.
Those are cuss words.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what I was wondering was if it is talking about words like the F word and the S word and stuff like that, and those are words just created by people, then what defines a curse word or a bad word? Because anyone can just create a word by my logic.
I mean, I believe curse words are cuss words. We're gonna stick with cuss words for this, because cursing somebody is entirely different than cussing, right? And so, like, in terms of like cuss words, like, I don't use them very often, but I do say them sometimes. And like, I don't use the F word no matter what. I don't ever say that, because I believe that that's just it's a very vulgar word.
Which F word?
I'm F-U-C-K. I also don't use F-A-G either, because it's just kind of a nasty word. Like, you can use other words.
Right.
So like in the aspect, so like, for example, like I say the S word, like when I'm describing a situation, or I say something is restarted sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, I say the situation that this situation is restarted. I don't say the word on live because I'll get banned. That word's banned. But I've been banned multiple times just for saying that word. It's pretty nasty. But I believe that the methodology to how you say the word is what matters. So, I mean, if you're calling somebody that, like, to their face, I believe that that's definitely a lot more gross and not necessary. I mean, the New Testament, I'm pretty sure that there's a verse. It's either in Peter, like in 1 Peter or 2 Peter, or Paul says it. I can't remember specifically who it is, but it literally says to refrain from vain babbling, foul language and vain babbling.
Yeah.
Which also doesn't have it. It also doesn't necessitate that it's only for prayer. This is also just referring to don't get into like a conversation that's not fruitful in any way.
Yeah.
Right. So like if the conversation that you're in involves a crap ton of curse words, right? Like that stuff, it can be considered terrible. Now, yeah,
But
yeah,
there is a distinction between cursing someone and cussing.
yeah.
I
I mean,
mean,
like if I'm just like if I just say the S word because I'm angry at a situation, and I'm like and I say it, it's kind of like one of those situations where I'm not cursing nobody. I'm just angry at the situation I'm currently in, and it's it's annoying or something. But like, if you call somebody a shitter, like it kind of holds different weight. You know what I'm saying?
Right, because you're
See, I don't call people that. I call people cornballs and goobers.
Right.
Because I don't want to get banned.
That's real.
But like, when you call somebody a cornball, you're just calling them ignorant. And if you call somebody a goober, you're kind of just like calling them like not stupid, but like they're being like that way on purpose to try and upset you, and you can see it. You know what I mean? Like there are words that are vulgar. Like there are some words that never need to be uttered out of a man's mouth because they're just not like especially because society has deemed them as terrible. I mean, like different societies believe that different words are better than others. I mean, in Australia, you see people saying the C word, and it seems like it's just part of the vocabulary, dude. But if an American says it, oh my gosh, it sounds horrible. It is such a bad word to hear come out of an American's mouth because in America that is a terrible word, right? But
this
like
doesn't roll off the tongue the same.
It doesn't. It sounds like you're saying the N word with a hard R, dude. Like it's so bad. It sounds so nasty when Americans say it. It's ridiculous. But freaking yeah, but like I think that a lot of that stuff is based in the society that you're a part of, and if you're a part of like a church that's like proclaiming all of that is the C word, Mercy Mary, like CUNT, that word in American society is really bad. It's so nasty to hear. But Australians, they use it in every sentence to describe any situation. I mean, they call their friends that like as a greeting, bro. Like, so I think it depends on where you're at. You know what I'm saying? But granted, if you're part of one of those churches that tries to like fearmonger you by like causing you to basically freak out about how, like they call it sinning by saying that because you said a cuss word, a tad bit ridiculous. It is a tad bit ridiculous.
Like, shouldn't you wash the inside of the cup before worrying
Yeah,
about
you know how many times in the New Testament Paul called somebody a dog? Like, come on. Like, you know dang well that wasn't kind-hearted. You know for a fact he didn't say that with love. You know what I'm saying? But like that's because of the fact that, I mean, Jesus referred to a set of people as dogs temporarily. That doesn't mean that Jesus was being like facetious or racist or anything, right? He was referring to them spiritually, spiritual dogs.
That's a really interesting verse. Like, not to completely sidetrack it, but that was like a moment of pedagogy for his disciples as well, like to teach them humility.
Yeah, totally.
That makes sense, right? So you're saying it's really just the intent behind the word?
I think it's entirely the intent behind the word, and I also think that if you have the ability to say something else, you should try, for sure. I mean, like I don't support just like cursing because it's not towards somebody, but like I think that you should actively attempt to, and I mean, like I repent because I have a bad mouth sometimes, you know what I mean? But like there are better things to say. Wholeheartedly, there are definitely better things you can say in pretty much any situation whatsoever. But society's kind of trained everybody to say whatever the hell they want. So, like, when you're trying to use the word in a aggressive way or using it in a way that actively demeans somebody, that's more like cursing. Like, that's cursing somebody. Because like you're actively attempting to get an emotional response out of them, which I mean would be considered cursing somebody in God's eyes. Right? Because like what if you call them the wrong name and then it ruins their whole day?
Apologetics.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe you should have oneness up there. Yeah, I don't know why I don't have that up here, but it's also because like most people when they I mean every time that like I put oneness as like, or I say Jesus is not the Father, I get like the most brain dead people ever that come up here and it says John 10:30 says I and the Father are one, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't freaking handle those people. No, I'm not saying cursing isn't bad, Marcy. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying I'm saying that there is definitely levels to and context towards any of these conversations that happen with people, right? And so, like, if you're somebody who throws an S-bomb or something like that, or even just damn, you know, like just because you're upset about a situation, like it's entirely different in my opinion. Also, I don't follow the new age movement of thinking that like words themselves have just power by themselves. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people try to say that like, oh, careful what you say, you might make it happen. No, that is not a freaking thing. Get out of here. You know what I mean? So like there's different levels to like what would be considered a curse and a cuss. Like what Schoolboy said, he kind of made that distinction immediately. There's a huge difference. But yeah, that's a whole nother situation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Bryce, did you know that?
And I think something important to note on it too is just like the Puritan attitudes that comes out of a lot of those circles. Like,
oh yeah,
I feel like judging the person for cussing is worse than the cuss in most situations.
Oh yeah. What'd you say, Eastern?
Because
I was gonna say, did you know that Nikola Tesla was Orthodox?
I did not know that. Was he really?
A lot of people try to. Yeah, he really was.
I did not know that.
He was born to an Orthodox family. A lot of people try to say that he fell out of the faith, but if you actually read his writings, he did not. He definitely did not.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm pretty sure there's no writings of him detesting religion once. Like, I don't think he ever wrote anything against religion.
I wrote his autobiography. Read, not wrote.
Yeah. I'm actually, hilariously enough, one of my topics I'm going to be adding up here, once it hits like later in November, I'm going to say Christmas is not pagan either. Because I can argue about the history of Christmas all day long, and I'm going to freaking do, there's going to be a Christmas tree right there. You're going to see it, little mini Christmas tree. It's going to be sitting right there. I'm going to have lights on my freaking wall, and everyone's going to get over it. And all these evangelicals can go freaking pray about it.
That's a fun one.
I know, but freaking, I ain't dealing with none of that goofy crap. Christmas is pagan. Okay, where does, give me one writing.
Can you get a coal counter?
A coal counter? Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
The amount of people that come up here and try to say Christmas is pagan. Oh, sorry, bro. Saint Nick ain't giving you nothing this year. Doesn't come from Yule, Mary. Oh my gosh. Doesn't come from Yule. Do you know what the Christmas tree represents?
Yeah.
It's the dead carcass of the Yule tree. We decorate their dead gods in our house.
I'm pretty sure Orthodox don't typically use Christmas trees and stuff, though.
They don't use them like liturgically. No, they don't use them as like actual decorations, but they don't detest the aspect of somebody like having one in their house. Like they don't say that it is demonic or that it's pagan. Like they know it's not pagan.
Okay.
They just don't use it liturgically. Like they don't care to do something like that. It's not necessary. The reason why they don't use it liturgically is because the Christmas tree is a Western innovation. Like it's not. It's something that's actually based in the Protestant Reformation. It's based in the Protestant Reformation.
We don't have one. We don't have one in our nave, but we do have one in the hall.
Christmas is mega based, Skyless. I think that you should celebrate the birth of Christ on January 6th, right? And then for the Julian calendar, and then just let your kids open freaking presents and have a dang Christmas tree and talk about Santa Claus on December 25th. Stop being freaking crazy. But what's up, Synaxis? Didn't see you in there for a second. Should I return my Lucci tree ornament? Yes. That crap will probably cause manifestations, bro. You seen the person who designed that freaking thing?
St. Nicholas was based.
St. Nicholas was mega based. He hit somebody in the middle of a freaking council.
Yeah.
Arius,
and
right?
Then Jesus
Yeah.
got him off the hook.
The writings say a certain Arian, but we know who it is.
You gotta Halloween and Christmas is pagan and satanic. Yeah, nah, bro. My kids went and trick or treated last night. Read it and weep. Sorry. Like pretty much everything that comes from Christmas is not freaking witchcraft. It's not a bunch of pagan crap. Stop freaking out. It's ridiculous. People that do stuff like that.
I do kind of have my own views about Halloween. Not gonna lie.
I mean, there are some things of Halloween that are needed for sure. I mean, in terms of like avoiding it, but like if freaking, you know, if you're not dressing your kids up as demons, I think it's not a big deal. And like,
I handed out candy with my neighbor.
Exactly.
Like,
you know what I mean?
And he's Orthodox. He called me. He's not in good health. He wanted a hand. I wasn't gonna be like, you shouldn't be giving out candy.
Yeah. No, the aspect of giving out candy actually goes back to All Saints Day, where almsgiving became a huge thing, where they would go door to door and give people food on that day. So so people giving out candy at their door kind of just commemorates that in a way. Unfortunately, it was westernized. Yes, you are correct. All Saints Day did not used to be the way that Halloween currently is. I mean, the jack-o'-lanterns don't really have a Christian significance. There's not really a need for them, but at the same time, my daughter wanted to stick her hands in pumpkin guts, so I let her.
Can we rage about wedding bands on the left hand?
Wedding bands on the left hand?
Yeah.
What is that?
Orthodox traditionally wear them on the right.
What?
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, look this up. The left-handed ring finger goes back to a pagan tradition out of Rome. And the reason that Orthodox wear their wedding bands on their right hand is because the right hand is used for blessings.
That's weird because nobody in my church wears it like that.
It's kind of, I would say that a majority in my church.
I'd say that's a lost tradition, bro.
My priest does. But I know a few.
I've never looked at my priest's hand to determine it like that. Like I've never actually like paid attention to his hand in a method to see if his ring finger was on. I'm gonna check that out next time I go to liturgy.
I noticed it when I shook his hand one day, and I saw like his ring finger was on his right hand, and I was like, I wonder about that. And I looked into it, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I did not. I'm gonna definitely see if my priest is wearing it on his right hand. I'm gonna ask him about it and see what he has to say. If he recommends wearing it on the right hand, I will totally put that into consideration from now on. I'll ask him and see what he gives. If he gives spiritual guidance for it.
It goes back to like if you look in the Old Testament, like when kings or delegates were given rings, it was always on the right hand.
Okay.
Because it was a sign of power and of blessing.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't know that. Didn't know about that tradition. Yep. What's up, Kamal?
What's up? I hope you guys doing well. I'm just gonna listen for a little bit and then I'm gonna contribute to you guys.
Okay. Yeah, we're just kind of talking about like generic stuff like holidays at the moment and like, you know, the existence of like what they came from and all that. At least from our stances.
I am from Middle East and I study history and I have noticed a lot of events were repeated in the past. So I'm just gonna listen for right now. I'm gonna give you my opinions.
All right.
Later.
Yo.
What's up, Neb?
What's good, bro? How you guys doing?
Chilling, man. It's the calm part of the debate of the stream now.
Yeah, it is.
Where it's calming down.
It is.
Yeah, you missed some pretty good ones, man.
Really?
Yeah, there was some goofy goobers who came up here earlier.
How long you been on?
You missed a pretty
like
pretty tough pill to swallow. You missed someone biting the bullet pretty hard.
Yeah, I basically talked about like so they were more relativist. They just didn't want to say it, but they were trying to hold a different position, and then I eventually reductioed them into moral relativism because they didn't realize that they actually followed it anyway. And then when I asked him, is child grape absolutely wrong? He said no, and I'm like, that is enough of this conversation. See you later.
I mean, that's the problem. They have to stay consistent.
No,
to
they
that
have to stay
position, though.
consistent, or else their positions fall. It's just the way, like, or they're not truly following that, which shows a problem with their own epistemology. They don't even follow their own epistemology down to its roots. If your
Exactly.
epistemology is valid, I can reduce it down to its most base format, and you should still be able to hold it, even if you give an absurd conclusion, a realistic absurd conclusion, which that is a realistic hypothetical that you can ask somebody who affirms something like that.
Dude, I feel like one of my friends locked me in the Thunderdome with this absolute sophist
Dude,
idiot. And
sophists make me want
the position, dude, the position that she took, she essentially adopts all like Christian ideals, but attributes them to her god blank. It's
that's an antagonistic opinion, though. That's not even a real belief. I guarantee she doesn't believe that.
No, we know that, and it's just absolutely infuriating to even talk with her. But it's like a small server of like 20 people, and she just ats me every day with a new stupid argument.
That's annoying.
Wait,
I have somebody that adds me every single day to their stupid stuff.
It's cool, but did you end up getting your translation?
No, dude, I've been looking for a translation for that thing for months. I went through so much to find the manuscript. I found. Did you see the meme that I found before I found an English translation?
Yeah.
Like it's infuriating, and I don't know why we don't have an English translation of this.
Yeah, the person that always ats me that annoys the crap out of me is freaking Serenissima, bro.
Oh, the Catholic Thomist.
Yeah, the dude that's freaking in the Discord.
Mine's a Thomist too.
It's just a repeated thing, like over and over and over. I always reductio the essence is everything crap, right? And then it eventually just gets to the point where he's just like, yeah, well, we don't affirm that. And I'm like, I don't care if you don't affirm it. Explain why you don't affirm it.
Yeah.
He's a troll, bro.
Like every time, like for the filioque type stuff, right? I ask somebody. It's my favorite thing that I do now. What is the philosophical necessity of the filioque? Right.
I actually shared that with a couple of my friends, and they really like that because, yeah, it really does. Just
like I want you to philosophically justify the filioque and why it is necessary for salvation, right? And then they say, oh, well, without the filioque, you don't have a Trinity. I said, how is that? Right? And then they immediately go back to relations of opposition and try to justify that there has to be an individual relationship between the Son and the Spirit that the Father's not involved in, right? And then when they make that argument, it's as simple as to say, why is that necessary?
Well, like, the honest answer would be the papacy.
I mean, that's what Serenissima did. That's why I know that the argument's good.
Yep.
Because he immediately said, well, I mean, it doesn't matter because if the papacy's true, then the filioque is true. And I'm like, nice, glad to see that you conceded, bro. That's the way that works.
Yeah, and then you can actually go to a fruitful conversation about the papacy instead of Thomistic autism.
Yeah, pretty much it's an argument that drags you into the papacy eventually because like asking for the epistemic reasoning behind why the filioque is required always eventually comes to the papacy being the justification, and then you can talk about the papacy there. But granted, he doesn't talk about the papacy; he refuses to do it. So it's pretty much kind of just whatever at that point, right? Because like I'll talk about the papacy all freaking day long, dude. I'm not as good as Jay, like that one guy that always is on TikTok. Yeah, I'm not as good as Jay, but like I can argue, I can debate for a hot minute.
I'm reading through a couple books right now because I want to get stronger arguing against the papacy because that's really where the whole position hinges. Like these philosophical and theological debates get nowhere. Yeah. You have to attack the papacy.
Well, the big main point that you attack with the papacy is basically so you force them to hold Vatican I, and then you go to the first 1,000 years of Christianity and show that Vatican I doesn't exist.
Well, you can the easy way, and it's kind of a cop out, and there's just a bunch of casuistry that comes out of it. But like Vatican II versus Unum Sanctum.
Yeah, but I don't think they think Unum Sanctum is ex cathedra. That's kind of their argument for that.
Right, and that's why it's casuistry.
Yeah, no. Yeah, but what's your deadlift? I haven't deadlifted in a while. I weigh 150 pounds, and I think I maxed out at 275 or 280. So I'd say that's decent for my weight. I haven't done it in a little while though. Deadlifting messes up my knees because I got bad knees now, apparently. I'm getting my VA claim for that.
Did you see this goober in the comments that said that Eastern Orthodox apologist is too many words?
Just say
Yeah, that's
Christian,
just-
no need to separate yourself. Oh, trust me, there's definitely a reason for it. Eastern Orthodox apologist is saying that I specifically represent the Orthodox Church, my friend. That's all it means. I don't care,
And
Skyless. You
that
look
whole,
jacked
like,
in your
no need to
picture. It's not...
Yeah, and that no need to separate yourself thing is just like pleading for false ecumenism.
I'm not jacked, bro. I can eat an entire medium pizza and lose weight. I don't gain weight, ever. It's not fair. I gotta use the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Schoolboy, were you able to look in?
Yeah.
He took the Greek, butchered it, and said, you got to make them affirm this, and then you can lead to this next point. I actually, Bryce, I shared with you the, I told you about what Agent said.
Yeah, you said he
And
kind
I
of like
told you what
butchered
the Greek
Greek,
actually
right? And
said.
tried to justify metaphysitism with like a false interpretation of Greek or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't.
Linguistically,
I haven't
he completely butchered it.
Eastern, were you here for my my shepherd's pie reductio earlier?
Yeah. That was pretty good.
Works out, man. It tracks. Man, you guys got to be here next time for Jeopardy, bro. I had some freaking goobers on my panel. Metro, no offense to you, you were pretty good.
Okay,
But,
so hold on. I'm sorry. So, NQ.
Yeah.
Remember how we were talking about Nomical by St. Maximus the Confessor, right?
Yeah, like I've been kind of chewing that over, and like
Yeah.
I wanted Bryce's opinion on this too.
Okay, so Bryce, have you been reading on the Cosmic Mystery or St. Maximus in general?
Yeah, I've been reading a decent amount of him.
Okay, so you know how he makes a distinction between the nomical and the natural will?
Sorry, 1 second. I was reading Sani. I'm actually proud of Sani now. He said he's actually going to start studying Christology and triadology instead of secular philosophies.
Absolutely.
I'm happy about that. All right, anyway, what's up, Neb? Sorry.
Okay, so St. Maximus, he makes a distinction between the nomical will and the natural will, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, we would predicate the natural will to the human nature. It's an abstract, a universal, right?
Yeah.
But this is where it gets like kind of interesting. The gnomic will, St. Maximus says that Christ never had a gnomic will, which is true, right? So we were, me and Schoolboy and Q, we were talking, and I was curious. Maximus and like my bishop also, they say that the distinction between the gnomic will and the natural will it's not a virtual distinction, right?
Yeah.
Because if it was a mere virtual distinction between the natural will, which is predicated to the divine nature, that would mean the gnomic will would be subsisting in the divine nature. I mean, in the human nature, right? And if that's the case, then that means Christ had a form of gnomic will, right? But so it has to be a form of real distinction. And me and Schoolboy and Q, we were talking. I hold to a form of minor real distinction between the gnomic will and the natural will. So, Schoolboy, would you say, in a sense, that the gnomic will is like an hypothesized in the natural will?
Let me grab ambiguum. Very be ambiguous. I have both volumes over
Hey,
here.
after this, since you guys are actually not people who were here for it, I want to do the Jeopardy again because I never was even able to pass out the gift I was going to get people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So if you guys want to go ahead and play, I think it'll be a lot more fruitful than the freaking people I had on. Metro, I love you, but you can't play again because you know all the answers. You saw all the answers. You'll bring me people? Just bring me one guy. I only need one guy left. Don't bring me a bunch of people and then they'll fight. Bring me one guy that you think will be the best for it. Let me get it set up here.
Is it with 4 people?
Yeah, it'll be 4 people playing against each other.
Okay, I'll be multitasking since I have a whole essay to finish.
Do this. This will be a boom, 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 boom.
There's like no table of contents in this. Makes it frustrating. This book does make me want to learn Greek though, because the whole right side of it's in English and the whole left side of the book is in Greek, like the original Greek.
I highly recommend Greek.
Yeah, that's the wrong freaking window. There we go.
If I knew Greek, I could actually like read the document that I'm dying for the translation of.
Oh, Nick, you playing, bro? You play Theology Jeopardy, man? Oh, I'll do. No, you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do the whole thing, bro. You gotta try. You gotta try and get the most points in the whole thing and all these in all the categories. Are you down? Help me. All right.
What's good?
What's up?
All right, well, we start right now or what?
We're gonna be here in a minute. Schoolboy's talking about a couple things with Saint Maximus, and then we're gonna.
All right.
Nick,
we might have to bracket
ambiguous,
this,
right?
Neb. Like, and I'll dig through this and see if I can find the answer that I'm looking
Yeah,
for.
I got you. That's fine.
All right. So, do you guys know how Jeopardy works? I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
All right. So I've designed all these questions. Obviously, most points is the hardest questions on here. There's councils, orthodoxy, Trinity, heresies, and misc. Misc is other religious questions. The other religions. So
You always got to go for 500.
Yeah, of course. So the way that it'll work is you guys will stay muted. All right. And then after I'm fully done reading the question, you guys, the first person who says got it will get to answer, and I'll call out whoever it was. Right. And then if you get it right, obviously you'll get the points. I said it's just gonna be $20 cash app for whoever gets it, whoever wins. So because I wasn't able to give it to the guy that won earlier because he's banned from Cash App for some reason. I don't even know how that happens.
Scamming.
Kind of ridiculous. But yeah. So
I never received the money on my Cash App for some reason.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know how he's banned. It was that Jewish rabbi guy.
Of all people to be banned from a money service.
I know. He did win though, but that's because he speaks loudest. That's the way it works, I guess. Yeah. But anyway. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, answer the question correctly or else it won't count. So it's gonna the answer, the question's gonna be in the form of an answer, and then you have to say what is or who is, and then the answer. Okay. If you don't say it in that format, then somebody can steal your answer. Cool.
Sounds good.
All right, everybody mute up. This will be good. It'll be a lot better than earlier because earlier was kind of chaotic. I know that all you guys are pretty smart with this stuff, so it'll work out. We'll start with you, Nick. Actually, you're more than welcome to go first since you're on the first on the list thing on my thing.
Do I just add like?
Yeah,
okay,
you
so like
just
Trinity 300.
Yeah. Is that what you want to do?
Yeah.
All right. The 4th century theologian known for his defense of the Trinity against Arianism famously stated, "What is not assumed is not healed," emphasizing the necessity of the incarnation for salvation.
Was it Athanasius?
Okay, so the way we'll do it is that like anybody can answer. All right, so like you mute up, right? And then
Okay, got it.
yeah. So you mute up, right? And then if somebody says "got it," they get to do it first. Also, Sonny, don't put it in freaking chat, bro, because people were doing that earlier. And it was
You already heard my answer.
I know,
but yeah.
I know that I'm gonna give that one to you because I know that you got that one for that. All right, you got that one for that. That is oh, it was it was actually Saint Gregory of Nazianzus.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I heard the quote.
Bro, I just read Incarnation.
I forgot. I had one that was a question very similar to this. That was Saint.
Yeah, I was like, is it not Saint Gregory the theologian?
Nah, we're gonna.
I read Incarnation. I'm like Athanasius immediately.
No, you're good. Go ahead and do. Go ahead and.
Nick's at negative 300.
No,
okay, let's do heresies 200.
All right, so now you mute up. All right, here we go. This heresy rejected the Old Testament and thought that the God of the Old Testament was different from the God of the New Testament.
Gnosticism.
Got it.
No, Eastern. That's incorrect. No, that's incorrect, but you have to say "got it," and then I have to pick you. So, Schoolboy, go ahead.
Got it. Manichaeanism.
No. And you have to say what is. This is already going terrible. All right. Hey, the answer is still available. You say "got it."
Oh.
You gonna pass? All right, we're gonna go ahead and pass this one. Marcionism.
Yeah, I knew it as soon as I.
He was actually one of the first people who invoked Gnosticism in a way. It's not Gnosticism by itself, but Marcionism. He believed that that the Old Testament God was Yaldabaoth, not Yahweh.
Bryce, so when you answer, you got to say what is.
Yeah, what is or who is, right?
Okay.
Like a question, right?
I got you.
All right. Go ahead. We'll move down to Eastern. You go ahead.
Hold on, give me a minute because just skip to the next person because right now
Schoolboy, go ahead.
Orthodoxy 500.
This 4th century saint and Archbishop of Constantinople is known for his eloquent sermons and the divine liturgy that bears his name.
Got it.
God dang it. Got it.
Go ahead.
St. John Chrysostom.
Correct.
Yo, you didn't say who is.
Oh my gosh.
Who is St.
You know what? Screw this. You know what? Screw this. That rules out the freaking window. I'm done. Ain't nobody doing this shit right. All right, go ahead, Schoolboy. You're up again.
Let's go miscellaneous for 500.
In the Mahayana Buddhism, this concept refers to the vow made by the enlightened beings to delay their own liberation to help others attain enlightenment.
I don't know how to say it, but I think it's like the Bohistiva vow. But got it. My bad. I got it. But I think it's the Bohistiva vow or something.
You're right. Dang, bro. Ain't nobody getting that right. I'm glad you got that.
Bro, when I first came to Christianity, I studied every other religion. So I didn't know, because I was agnostic first.
He said D-Wag knows this. Dude, freaking he got it. Nick knew that freaking question.
I should have known that.
All right, go ahead, Nick.
Trinity 200.
This concept used in Eastern Orthodox theology describes the dynamic relational activity within the Trinity. I gotta finish the question first. Often translated as mutual indwelling, but you
Got
said
it. Got it. Perichoresis.
Yep. All right, go ahead.
It's Neb next, right?
No, it's you. You got it right.
Oh, so I do it again. Oh, okay. All right. Trinity 400.
All right. Now when I click this, what's up, baby? Oh, okay. So when I click this, wait until I finish the sentence. All right, and then we'll do it out, and then you can call it out. This Cappadocian father is credited with developing the distinction between the ousia and the hypostasis to articulate the unity and distinction within the Trinity.
Got it.
Got it.
Was that Schoolboy or Neb?
Neb.
Neb. All right. What is it?
Who is Saint Gregory Nyssa?
No.
Got it.
serious?
What's up, Nick?
Basil?
Oh, no.
Correct.
No.
Yeah, I think up it. Yeah. Nick's
All
too
right.
quick with the got it's.
All right, Nick, give me just 1 second. My wife wants to show me her quilt.
Okay.
Oh, dang. I think it looks good. Let me see it. My wife's doing a quilt.
Oh yeah, that's hard.
He said it's hard. She laughed because she doesn't know what that means.
She's like, no, it's soft.
Huh? It's good. It's really good. Yeah, it looked good. I like it so far. All right, go ahead, Nick.
Okay, Trinity 500.
Oh, well, okay. That works out. Trinity 500. This term used by Augustine and Aquinas describes the unique characteristic or property of each divine person within the Trinity, such as paternity for the Father.
Got it.
Go ahead, schoolboy.
Hypostatic property.
No.
Got it.
Go ahead, Neb.
I'm not so sure about this one. Is it relational properties?
No.
Got it.
Go ahead.
Is it relation of opposition?
No.
Dang.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go through. It's notional distinction.
That's a type of distinction.
It's a specific notional distinction. All right, since nobody got that one, we'll move to Neb.
Okay, let's do heresies 400.
All right. This 4th century heresy claimed that the sacraments administered by clergy that had sinned or renounced the faith were invalid, leading to a schism in North Africa.
Got it.
Go ahead, schoolboy.
Donatism.
Nice. Go ahead, schoolboy.
Heresies 500.
Known for his complex cosmology, this Gnostic heretic taught that the divine beings called aeons created a lesser god, the demiurge, who has turned the created world, or created the material world.
Got it.
Go ahead.
Is this actually? Hold on.
Got it. I guess.
Go ahead, Nick.
Is it Docetism?
No. This is a person.
Oh, it's a person.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Don't you look that shit up, Neb.
Nah, I'm not. I'm lost.
He said, "Oh, hold on, give me a second," and then he disconnects.
I'm trying to think.
I'll do 10 more seconds.
Got it.
Go ahead.
Is it Basilides?
Nah. That's a freaking hard reach answer, man. I don't even know who the hell that is.
Really?
No.
I thought he was I don't know then.
All right. It's Valentinus. Saint Irenaeus talks about him in depth in Against Heresies, book 3.
John of Damascus just kind of like breezes right over him.
Yep.
As soon as you pulled it up, I was like, "Oh,
Are you still busy, Eastern?" All right. Go ahead, schoolboy.
No.
Oh,
I
you're
should
good?
be able to.
All right, Eastern, go ahead.
Yeah, let's do Councils 500.
This decree signed at Florence outlined the union's terms, agreeing to papal supremacy and the filioque, though it faced rejection upon returning to the Byzantine Empire.
Got it.
Go ahead.
Is it the decree for the reunion of the churches?
Yeah. It's the decree of union. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll just do Trinity 100. Let's get those out of the way.
The Greek term meaning of the same essence or consubstantial was central to affirming the unity of the Father and the Son at the Council of Nicaea.
Got it.
We'll do schoolboy for that one.
Homoousius.
Nice. Go ahead, schoolboy.
Orthodoxy 400.
In Orthodox churches, this screen decorated with icons separates the altar from the nave.
Got it.
Go ahead.
Iconostasis.
Yep. Somebody, I think it was, I can't remember who it was, but when we did this earlier today, somebody said the veil. Go ahead.
Orthodoxy 300.
The Orthodox theological concept describes the distinct yet accessible manifestations of God through which believers experience his presence distinct from his essence.
Got it.
Got it.
I think I got Neb on that one.
Dang.
Energies.
Energies of God. Go ahead, Neb.
Let's do Councils 400.
The Paulimite synods affirmed that while God's essence is inaccessible, his energies allow believers to experience this through prayer and participation, a concept central to this spiritual practice.
Got it.
Got it. Dang it, bro. I didn't click the unmute button.
Go
in time.
ahead, schoolboy.
Hesychasm.
Good job. Go ahead.
Let's go miscellaneous 400.
This 19th century German philosopher, often associated with atheism, famously declared that God is dead and questioned traditional Christian morality.
Got it.
Go ahead.
Nietzsche.
Good job. Go
Let's
ahead.
go miscellaneous 300.
This branch of Islam, which includes groups like the Twelvers and the Ismailis, believe that leadership should be through the descendants of Ali, the cousin of Muhammad.
Got it.
Go ahead, Neb.
The Shias.
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay, let's do Orthodoxy 100.
All right. This ancient city is the location of the ecumenical patriarchate, considered the first among equals in Eastern Orthodoxy.
Got it.
Got it.
Go ahead, Nick.
Constantinople?
Yep. Go ahead.
My bad. I've been forgetting. Okay, we'll do Orthodoxy 200.
This type of prayer, central to the Orthodox monastic life, involves the repeated invocation of Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner.
Got it.
Got it.
That was Neb, I think.
The Jesus prayer.
Yep.
It's noetic prayer.
The Jesus prayer.
Let's do Heresies 300.
This heresy taught that Jesus had a divine mind, but not a human mind, denying the fullness of his humanity.
Got it.
Go ahead.
Is this Docetism?
No. Man, you're really on this Docetism stuff, bro. He said Oriental Orthodoxy in chat.
Got it.
Go ahead.
Might be Miaphysitism?
No.
Dang.
Oh, got it.
Go ahead.
Monothelitism.
No.
Wait, got it?
Go ahead, Neb.
Is it Apollinarianism?
It is. Go ahead.
Let's do Councils 300.
This canon of the Council of Nicaea recognized the ancient customs of jurisdictional authority for certain bishops, specifically naming the sees of Alexandria, Antioch, and Rome.
Got it.
I got schoolboy on that one.
6th.
All right. You were here earlier, weren't you?
I was here when you brought it up in the conversation.
All right, go ahead.
Let's go 200.
What?
Miscellaneous 200.
Known as the Destroyer and the Transformer, this Hindu deity forms part of the Timurti along with Brahma and Vishnu.
Got it.
Go ahead.
Shiva.
Yep. I actually forgot that one. I had to push it back. Go ahead.
Miscellaneous 100.
In Islam, this term refers to the pilgrimage to Mecca, which all Muslims are required to perform at least once if they're able.
Got it.
Go ahead.
Hajj.
Nice. Go ahead.
Councils 200.
This Bishop of Alexandria was a key defender of Nicene Orthodoxy, opposing Arianism and enduring multiple exiles for his stance.
Got it.
Go ahead.
Saint Cyril?
No.
Got it.
Go ahead.
St. Athanasius.
Yep. Go ahead.
Let's do Heresies 100.
An early Christian heresy that taught Jesus was not truly divine but a created being, and it was condemned in Nicaea.
Got it.
I got Nick on that one.
Arianism?
Yep. And then we got councils, last one. 3825 AD council.
Got it.
What's up, Neb?
Wait. Are you asking what the name of the council is?
No, I mean, yeah, this 325 AD council was the first council.
The Council of Nicaea?
Yeah.
It says right there.
Huh? Where?
Nicene Creed.
It says the Nicene Creed.
Yeah. Do that. That's why it's 1.
Uh-huh.
All right. Schoolboy blew that out of the water, I guess.
Well, what does it say? I can't see.
What? Oh,
What's the? How much does he have?
Oh, you got 2,800. All good. You send me your Cash App, Schoolboy.
Got you.
Good. That was a lot. That was a lot better than earlier. Oh my gosh.
What was the high score earlier?
Well, no, the high score wasn't the problem. It was the fact that it was just freaking chaotic. It was just $20 Cash App Islamic. Nah, it's just a gift, man. It's not for money. That's not what the point of it is. It's just a gift. Calm down. W, run it back and I'll cook. I gotta get 3 other new people up here if you want to do that. That didn't see all of this, bro.
He gonna be cooked when the councils come up, bro.
Wait, Nick. I have a question. So you've read Saint Maximus on the Gnomic World, right?
Yeah.
Would you say
Okay. Well, I don't know what the hell a Polynarianism is, but shit. I mean, you got a different Jeopardy?
No, I'm gonna be making more of them. That was just
No. You don't have to make them. You can literally find many online that are already there.
Let me see what I can get.
Just look up like Jeopardy, Christianity, for example.
They're probably gonna be low tier, man.
Yeah, but I don't know anything about Christianity, so I'm gonna have to like lock in compared to you guys. So
Nick, would you say the Gnomic was hypothesized into the natural world?
Have you read his Ambiguum?
I've read, yeah, and then I've read
Yeah, because I was flipping through it earlier and I couldn't find it. Like in the 5 minutes I looked.
Yeah, I'm thinking it might be
you. Who is the I and who is the you?
Or something.
The messengers prove each other.
Okay, yeah. I'm thinking
All right.
I want to look at Ambiguum 6 or 7. I don't know. I know Ambiguum 7 is probably the longest of his Ambiguums. You might want to look there.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what he
right
says
now.
about that though. I don't know if he says that it's in hypothesized.
Suck. Like one of the 500 for like holidays, it literally says what is the most important holiday in Christianity. That's 500. I'll be making a better one Islamic, and I'll invite you up here next time.
Hey, up. Hold on. Up, God knows.
Okay. Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Bro, I was trying to talk
Do
to
you see
Nas,
the goober in the chat?
but what he just said was crazy. I'm not gonna lie. He was like, I don't know anything about Christianity.
Alright, well,
Yeah,
GG's,
he
if y'all do
argued
another one,
Muhammad in
let
the
me know.
Bible.
I'm gonna hop off, but if y'all do another one,
Yeah, nah, I'm
Hey, Sheik, really,
I'm gonna be
why
killing
don't
the
you
stream
come
here.
up instead?
Alright, God
You're
bless.
running like a dog.